streaming and wait for him to give me the thumbs up. Thank you, Darren. Changes, can I just say I wish to welcome everyone to the June Ordinary Council meeting. Due to the current public health order, everyone present must wear a face mask for the duration of the time that they are inside the council chamber. Myself and councillors and staff may remove our face masks when addressing council only, but must wear a mask at all other times. The meeting is being held in the council chamber with a COVID safety plan in place due to the current advice from the Office of Local Government, which states that council should return to face-to-face meetings from the 26th of March 2021 onwards. Council adopted the Office of Local Government procedures to supplement Council's code of meeting practice in order for councils to request attendance via audio-visual link and for their request to be resolved by council. For the conduct of this meeting, I'm using my powers as Mayor under Section 226 of the Local Government Act 1993 to suspend the procedures while the restrictions under the public health orders are in force to allow all councillors to participate in meetings by audio-visual link without the prior approval of the council. Section 226 confers on mayors the powers to exercise in case of necessity. The policy makes functions of the governing body of the council between meetings of council. Council have undertaken an upgrade of the audio-visual equipment in the council chamber, and I ask all councillors and the public to please bear with us as this is only our second council meeting to be conducted on the upgrade technology. In terms of live streaming, the council meeting is being live streamed via YouTube and recorded and published online via council website. To those present in the council meeting today, by participating in this public meeting, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. The Mayor and or the General Manager have the authority to pause the live stream if comments or debate are considered defamatory or otherwise inappropriate for publishing. Participants are advised that they may be subject to legal action if they engage in unlawful behaviour or commentary. As stated earlier, item 1A, as stated earlier, I'm using the powers as Mayor under Section 226 under the Local Government Act to suspend the Code of Meeting Practice Procedures while the restrictions of the Public Health Order are in force to allow all councillors to participate in meeting by audio-visual link if they wish, without the prior approval of council. Councillor Nolan will be attending and participating in the audio-visual link.
Question, Madam Mayor. So what authority is it under 266?
The public health order was circulated on the 28th of June, Councillor. It is item 221/14, COVID-19 restrictions in council meeting. If you go to the second page, it's item 4. If council have formally adopted procedures to supplement their code of meeting practice that restrict the number of councillors who are permitted to attend meetings by audio-visual link, or that require the prior approval of the council for attendance at meetings by audio-visual link as suggested by Circular 21-02, it is open to the Mayor to use their powers under this Act to suspend the procedures while the restrictions under the public health orders are enforced to allow all councillors to participate in meetings by audio-visual link without the prior approval of council. Section 226 confer on mayors the power to exercise in case of necessity the policy-making functions of the governing body of the council between meetings of the council.
Well, just a point of order on that then, Madam Mayor. Between council meetings, we're actually at a council meeting. Mayors do have the authority to make decisions between council meetings, which must then be ratified by the council. You don't have autonomy over us as an elected body. 266 doesn't give you the authority to make decisions in the Act may that part with the health may give you, but certainly it does not allow you to make decisions that are binding on council. You must, between council meetings, you have the authority to make decisions, and then you must have those decisions ratified by council.
Councillor, thank you for that. I'm happy, I'm inclusive, as you know, and always have been, always will be. I'm happy to have a motion to include Councillor Nolan to join the meeting on link, but it was the understanding of this that was circulated on the 28th of June that I had that procedure.
Well,
So,
I
thank
called
you,
a point of
Councillor.
order, and I'd like it to go to the Office of Local Government, because if you can make if they're saying that decisions that can be made between council meetings can be binding on council, this opens up a whole new.
You can remove your mask while you're talking.
This
Councillor.
opens up a whole new Pandora's box almost, that the mayor can suddenly be making decisions that under 266 that councillors are bound by. That is not what 266 is. 266 allows the mayor to make decisions in an emergency situation, but then must be ratified by the council.
Under this public health order by the minister, it doesn't state that, councillor, but I'm happy.
Well, the minister can't breach the Act either, Madam Mayor.
I'll write to the minister and let them know that, if you like, councillor. But I'll take your point of order, and I'll say that the general manager has advised me that this is the process. Councillor, I'll take this on the general manager's advice. But to ensure that councillors are formally allowing Councillor Nolan to join us, as the amendment says he can, under this order, that I'll take a formal motion moved by Councillor Brown, second by Councillor Clark, to allow Councillor Kennedy under this current, Councillor Nolan under this current order to join the meeting via Zoom. Councillor Brown, do you want to speak to that?
No, Madam Mayor.
I think it's very clear. Councillor Kennedy, do you want to speak against it?
No, Madam Mayor, I was never against it. I'm just for when there's a decision to be made, it needs to be made by the elected body, not the mayor. I have no problem with
Councillor, as I
Councillor Jim
said,
Nolan
when you
being
had
here.
your point of order, this is actually from the Office of Local Government.
And
It is a regulation, a council circular for this. Yep, and I'm just. Okay, we're just going to click off. Thank you.
point of order, Madam Mayor, I was in the middle of addressing your question. You asked me a question which
Thank you, councillor. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, Councillor Brown, Councillor Clark, Councillor Cool. It's a unanimous vote. Thank you, councillors. We'll move. There is no apology. Item 2, Councillor Adams, would you like to say the prayer?
Almighty God, we ask you to invoke your blessing upon this council. Direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement and true welfare of the people of the council area, our state and Australia. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Gallagher, would you like to say the acknowledgement of country?
Yeah, sorry about that. I acknowledge the traditional owners on the land upon which we meet and pay our respect to those elders past, present and emerging.
Oops, sorry, councillors. I'll just leave it on. We'll now move to the minutes moved by Councillor Adams. Is there a seconder? Councillor Clark. Is there any debate? No debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declared that carried unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We'll move to item 6, disclosures of interest. Is there any disclosures of interest during the council business paper? No? No council, no declaration for council or staff. We'll move to item 7, the Merrill Minute, for which there is none. We'll move to item 8, notices of motion, for which there is none. We'll move to item 9, for rescission motions, for which there is none. We'll move to item 10, delegates report. We have report number item 2/21, page 21, report dated the 16th of June, attendance at the 77th Murray-Darling Association Conference held 16th to 20th of May. Councillor Brown, you're moving that way.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Councillor. As a seconder, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Brown, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just very briefly, Madam Mayor, it was a good conference, a useful conference. I hope the report encapsulates the important presentations there and the inclusion of the draft minutes. I think will give people an idea of the mood of the conference and the number of issues that will be sent to the relevant ministers. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, councillors.
Could I also speak as co-author, Madam Mayor?
Yes, councillor.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank Councillor Page, Councillor Aldgate and Councillor Brown, who actually wrote the report, but did allow me to have input into that report.
Sorry, councillor, can you just take your mask off? We have
Yeah.
someone here whose hearing
Okay.
could be a bit
No
struggling.
worries. So I thank the four councillors, particularly Councillor Brown, who had written the report and did give me the opportunity to add that report. Thankfully, there was nothing that needed to be added. It was comprehensively written. Councillor Brown actually took notes during the whole of the conference. What we did notice as a group at that conference is there is still a lot of people out there that don't actually understand the workings of the lake, the Upper Darling, the Lower Darling. I think we as a council and as council's representative on that committee need to continue to make sure that those organisations know exactly what's happening with the Menindee Lakes and the Lower and Upper Darling. We as a group were surprised by not so much during the conference, but speaking to people outside the conference, how little they still know about certain areas about the lakes and the Lower and Upper Darling. So it was a good conference. It was very enjoyable with all four councillors that we went away with. And I, again, double thank Councillor Brown for putting in the effort to write the report and inviting us to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Kennedy. If there's no further debate, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous vote. Thank you, councillors. Move to item 11. Item 1, Broken Hill City Council Report 88/21, dated June 18th. Correspondence report, water restrictions, the federal budget, government grant opportunities, apprenticeship wages, subsidies available for local government, page 48. Moved by councillor Adams. Seconder, councillor Brown. Councillor Adams, do you want to speak to this?
It is a report, Madam Mayor, so that's fine, but I'll perhaps just take this opportunity to ask council to consider sending a letter of thanks to Mark Colton for the work that he's done for us and his continued cooperation in speaking to council whenever we asked of him.
Thank you. So who's speaking? I already had a seconder. Councillor Brown had seconded it.
Councillor Nolan was speaking.
Oh, sorry, councillor Brown had already seconded the motion. Councillor Nolan. Bit hard with all the mask and that, sorry. Councillor Aldgate, do you want to just remove your mask, because it's just, for those who are in the audience, it's a little bit hard.
I accept the correspondence from the member, but the reason, what we sent was a letter asking for the reasons, and the only vague reason we might have given is that there's more water in the water storage levels in the lakes and so on is better. Is that, I wonder, is that the reason why there's restrictions? And if it is, it means that when there is less water in the lakes, we will have water restrictions again. I mean, there's no clear definitive answer to the reason why the restrictions were imposed. And we get our water from Wentworth, So what's in the lakes normally doesn't matter too much. I just, I mean, this is just a letter of political speak, telling us how good the government is and how much money they have available and all the rest of it. That's not what we asked for. We asked for the reasons behind the decision to put the town on water restrictions.
I move amendment, Madam Mayor.
What's your amendment? What's your
Oh.
amendment, councillor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the report be received and 1 and 2 of the recommendation, and at number 3 that we write back to the Honourable Mark Coulton MP, Minister for Regional Health.
He's not that
Communications.
anymore.
Oh, well.
He's just the member for Parks.
Oh, okay, for the member of Parks that we write to him asking him again if he could follow up with the New South Wales government why those restrictions were implemented when we have a secure water supply from the Murray River.
Do you have a seconder for that? Second by councillor Gallagher.
The reason I moved this, and I do find Mark a really good local member, but the reality is when we ask questions of federal ministers, state ministers, federal members or state members is to get an answer. It's important to the Broken Hill community to find out exactly why, as a community, we're on water restrictions when the government had paid well over $500 million to connect us to the Murray River to ensure that we wouldn't be put on water restrictions. We'll put on water restrictions and we're heavily subsidised on that pipeline. If the subsidies were withdrawn, and I hope they're not withdrawn, each household would be paying upwards of $3,000 extra in water charges. So it's important that we find out exactly what's going on and the management of that line, because that management of the pipeline is going to be very important to the future of Broken Hill, and it's going to be very important to the future of the residents who, at some stage, if we don't keep on top of this, may end up having to pay what is currently being subsidised. And if that happens, many people will not be able to afford it.
Thank you, councillor Gallagher. Kennedy, is there any speakers against? Oh, councillor Brown. Oh,
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll speak against the amendment, but mainly because it's pretty clear from this letter, and I would have thought it's very clear from the discussions between the federal government and the various state governments at the moment that the federal government doesn't have very much influence on state government decisions. And it's my understanding that the decision to lift water restrictions was one made by Essential Water. I know previously when I've been a member of the Community Consultative Committee for Essential Water that the matter of water restrictions was raised there, and I know certainly at the time I was never in favour of having sort of a baseline level 1 restrictions which Essential Water suggested as a way of, keeping people or encouraging people to develop good habits with their water use. I personally can't see the sense of that, and I'm really glad that those restrictions were lifted. But I don't think the recent decision was a government decision, and so the federal member would have no impact on that at all. And even if it was a state government decision, the same would apply.
thank you, councillor. Councillor Clark, do you have a question? Sorry, councillor Clark, do you have a question?
Look, it's more of a comment, really. Not talking about what Councillor Kennedy raised with water restrictions, but certainly he raised another point, and that was about the charges, the water charges, or the prospective water charges that we could face, and we have no real decision on that. Now Mark Coulton has gone and has been put on the back bench. It won't be anything really to do with him. I'm wondering if in fact Councillor Kennedy would allow his suggested correspondence to go to the new Minister for Water, whoever that is. I'm just not really clear on who that is. All of these changes have been made very, very recently. But certainly perhaps that query about prospective water charges needs to be made to the new Water Minister. I thank Mark Coulton for everything that he may have done for Broken Hill, but he's not in a position now to advise us on water.
So just to clarify, Councillor Kennedy, you happy to include the current water minister? And Councillor Brown, were you saying that the water pricing wasn't a federal issue, it was a state issue? Just to clarify.
I was talking about the water restrictions. I wasn't, because the charges associated with the pipeline weren't raised in our correspondence or this response. I was referring to the water restrictions.
Okay.
Councillor Kennedy said that there was a link between the water restrictions and the the amount of water that was available. But the other issues weren't part of this correspondence, and I wasn't referring to them.
Point of clarification, Madam Mayor.
Just take your mask down when you're talking, just to
Yeah,
make it
sure.
easy.
It's strange that you have to wear a mask, but you have to take it down. So are we safe or we aren't safe? Honestly, should we have the mask on or should we have the mask off? It's a bit silly. I'm talking with it on because apparently you have to have it on, and then I'm told to take it off because people can't hear it. So if I'm really worried about having a mask on, I don't particularly want to take it off to talk.
I know, it's so hard, but it's the new public health
Yeah, but
order.
this is what I'm saying. I shouldn't be taken off if I'm really worried.
Yeah, I
So
can't help you on this one,
no,
Councillor.
so I'd
it's
rather
the
keep it.
public health
I'd rather
order.
keep it on, Madam Mayor.
It's just that we do have someone here who has hearing
Yeah, but I'm worried
problems.
about my health, so I'd rather keep it on. That's why I'm
Okay.
wearing it.
Sorry, Gigi, he's keeping it on. Thank you.
Well, that's why I'm wearing
No,
it,
no,
Madam
that's,
Mayor.
it's okay. Go ahead.
No,
Madam Mayor, maybe it's a suggestion, talk a bit closer to the microphone.
Yeah, could you talk a bit closer to the
Yeah, That's for
microphone?
everyone.
Lean in and get a bit closer.
yeah, so just a point of clarification. I didn't think that the federal government does have anything to do with water restrictions, as he said. That's why I moved that. Could he follow it up with the state government or even the appropriate body that made the water restrictions? Because as a federal member, they have access to these people. They know everyone. They can get information from those people way quicker than we can as a council. And what it shows to our local member and water ministers that we are interested in actually following up what's going on with water restrictions in our pipeline. We all know that the federal government doesn't provide water utilities, but he can definitely find out on our behalf why those water restrictions were implemented. And I thank Councillor Clark for coming up with the added suggestion about also following it up with the new federal water minister.
Okay, we've had a speaker for clarity from Councillor Kennedy. Is there any other speakers for the amendment? Councillor Gallagher, you've seconded. You're going to speak for it?
I might be right now. Thank you. Just to say that I totally agree that we should be following this up, whether it's the Mark Coulton as the federal minister previously, whether Mark Coulton as a member for Parks. It needs to be clarified. It needs an answer. Yes, they're in Parliament. Yes, they do speak to each other, and I believe it should come from that person who we asked to send the correspondence to, and they can correspond with their state government counterpart. So it needs to be done, and we need an answer.
Okay, thank you. There's no further debate. I'll put the motion, the amendment, all those in favour. I'll just go around. All those in favour. Councillor Clark, Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Page, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Adams and Councillor Nolan. Against, Councillor Brown, Councillor Cool and Mayor Turley. The amendment now becomes the motion. Councillor, now who moved the original motion? There's no further debate. Councillor Adams, do you want to have the right of reply?
Excuse me, just before councillor Adams does that, I think I can't see up there where it said that councillor Kennedy was including
It is.
the writing to the
it's
new
I-
minister.
Item 3, current water minister, down the very bottom. Lisa's picked it up down the very bottom. See the item 3?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Adams, write a reply.
It's the masks.
Take a mask off.
No, it's just, I would still like to see Mark Colton acknowledged by council, which is not on it.
Yeah. it's not-
I'm happy to include that. I did mean that when I did mean that, Lisa, when I
I'll
moved the
take
amendment.
that because happy to include it because councillor Adams originally said that in the motion. Okay, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declared it a unanimous vote. Thank you, councillors. Move to item 2, Broken Hill City Council report dated 89/21, Office of Local Government consultation on the draft model social media policy and draft model council and staff interaction policy and on the development of a draft model media policy, page 52. I have a mover, moved by councillor Brown, second by councillor Clark. Councillor Brown, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, Madam Mayor, just to point out and remind people that we're not debating the pros and cons of this. I suspect that all of us would have quite a few questions or reservations about what's contained in this policy, but the recommendation does suggest that we do that at a workshop.
Thank you. Is any speakers against? No speakers against?
I just want to make a comment, Madam Chair, if I would. For starters, I think this business paper is far too long. Secondly, I think that some of these new policies ought to be policies that are considered by the new council, not this council. Well, you might laugh. I can't believe it. But
Sorry, we just need you to talk closer to the microphone. It's hard with the mask on.
I'm just suggesting that, as far as I'm concerned, 1,000 odd pages of reports and policy, important policies, that is too, that they ought to be the subject of deferring to the new council so that the new council can make their decisions on policies that will affect them, not us, them.
Can I make a comment, Madam Mayor? Just on this-
Speakers against,
Can
councillor,
I make a comment? please?
well, councillor, yes.
It's just that on this particular one, as I understand it, Office of
Do you want to take
Local
your
Government
mask down?
are asking that it be, no information be returned to them by 23rd of July. So it's one that we can't really defer.
Move an amendment, Madam Mayor.
What's your amendment, councillor?
My amendment that it be received and be deferred until the new election of the new council.
Sorry, councillor Gallagher, were you seconding that? No, councillor Kennedy, councillor Allgate. Councillor Kennedy, do you want to speak to the
Yes,
amendment?
I do, Madam Mayor. As would be noted at the on the final paragraph, once it's finalised, the model policy will not be mandatory, and New South Wales councils can determine whether they adopt it. We will be going through it in July for no other reason, and by the time we send off, and it may have some sort of bearing on the new council when in reality it's not going to be mandatory. There's no reason to even deal with it in July by workshop. as councillor Brown said, there is many things in this that would concern and should concern councillors and the community. No other than the fact that if you have a personal if you have a personal Facebook page where you may question the council as a member of the community, you must be addressed as Councillor Kennedy and or whichever councillor, and have the footnote that these are your opinions. Otherwise, your personal page cannot have anything to do with council or the community, which is absolutely ridiculous, because we as councillors are also members of the community and are entitled to speak to members of the community as we wish to. If we talk about the swimming pool as a member of the community, which is a council asset deemed in this policy, we would then be making that private Facebook page a council official page. It's absolutely ridiculous to think that that is acceptable. I have a right to speak to my friends about the swimming pool, the civic centre, anything I like. Just because it mentions council, it certainly doesn't then allow council to say what I can and can't speak on my private page because the OLG is after some sort of power grab. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Oh, thank you, councillor Kennedy. Speakers against the amendment?
Madam Mayor,
Yeah,
I'll speak against the
councillor.
amendment.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, we're still a duly elected body of the council. We're still working for the community. I don't think we need to defer this. I agree with councillor Kennedy. There's some real concerns in this policy, and I'd like to have a say in what goes back to the Office of Local Government. And again, whatever comes back does not have to be accepted by this council. It's not mandatory. But I certainly would like to have input in what goes up to the Office of Local Government. And we're still the elected council. We're not in caretaker mode yet. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Is there
Question, Madam Mayor.
what's your question, councillor?
Perhaps you or the General Manager could answer this. So is there a caretaker mode for councils?
Yes, there is. Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Caretaker comes in, I think it's the 6th of August.
6th of August. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. If there's councillor Clark.
Yeah, just a
sorry.
comment here, Madam Mayor. If we're looking at this date that this has to be returned, this workshop will have to be decided. The date for that will have to be decided pretty quickly.
Thank you for that, councillor. I'm sure the General Manager, if this motion is passed, will take that on board. If there's no further debate, I'll put councillor Kennedy's amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Kennedy, councillor Allgate, councillor Page, councillor Gallagher. All those against? Councillor Brown, councillor Clark, councillor Cool, councillor Nolan, councillor Adams, Mayor Turley. The amendment's been lost. We'll move back to the motion. Councillor Brown, you have right of reply.
No, Madam Mayor, I'm fine.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, councillor Brown, councillor Clark, councillor Cool, councillor Nolan, councillor Adams, Mayor Turley. Against, councillor Kennedy, councillor Allgate, councillor Page and councillor Gallagher. The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors, and thank you for your patience with the mask on and off. Item 3, Broken Hill City Council report number 90/21. Appointment of new members to the Western Joint Regional Planning Panel, page 108. Do I have a mover? Councillor Gallagher, seconder, councillor LaCool, councillor Gallagher, do you want to speak to the motion? Is there any debate? No debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against, declared it carried unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 4, Broken Hill City Council report number 91/21, realignment of council organisational structure and appointment of senior staff position, page 111. I'll ask the General Manager, did he want to address council before I ask for a mover?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think most of it's been explained in the email that I circulated to all councillors over the preceding weeks around what the aim of this was to do, and obviously to increase the size of ELT and make it more inclusive, but make sure that we've got that strong focus on economic development for the city and rebuild that Department of Council to ensure that we take the opportunities that are coming our way over the next 2 to 3 years resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic, but also just to make mention that the final organisation structure that will be obviously published in our delivery programs and on our website will of course include the councillors and the mayor sitting above the general manager as per the Local Government Act, if that's caused any confusion with the structure that I've sent out, which is purely just from an administration point of view. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Just a question, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
This is an official document that goes out to the public to see. Now, I've had many people ask me this, why are councillors off to the side of the general manager? Does the general manager make the decisions in council?
Councillor, can I just point out the off to the side is actually that the staff give support to the councillors.
I know what it is, Madam Mayor. I know how to read an organisational structure. Quite obviously, from the Act, the councillors and the mayor must be at the top. That's why you have an organisational structure. And when the final report comes out, it'll be like that. So why is this report being put out in a draft form that's not the same as what will be in the final document?
Okay.
So it's an important question
no, I
because,
know.
and the reason I'm asking the question, as I'll continue to ask, was members of the public have asked me, I then emailed because, you know, to see something and then be told, but in the final report, it won't look like that. Well, why does it look like this in an official document to us as councillors? We're approving a organisational structure that's written here that has an amended version on the thing, and then we're told, but the real version will include the mayor and the councillors as the top, because under the Act, that is exactly how it is. Councillors make the decision, the general manager implements it, and then the general manager can delegate the thing. So why was it written in this form in the first place?
Before we go to that, we'll hold that question. I'm going to, because we're going into, we should now move for a mover and a seconder, and then I'll ask the general manager to take that question. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Nolan, seconder, Councillor Adams. She smacks me because I don't see a hand. Councillor Nolan, I'm just going to, because Councillor Kennedy asked a question, I'm going to ask the general manager to answer that question, then I'll go back to debate. Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just want to be really clear that the mayor and the councillors aren't sitting out to the side of the general manager. What's sitting out to the side is the executive support of the general manager's office, which is obviously providing support to the mayor, the councillors, the general manager and the ELT, so Lisa and Louise. That's what executive support is out to the left. So the mayor and the mayor and the councillors isn't sitting out to the left as a reporting line. I didn't include the mayor and the councillors sitting above the general manager because there's no determination for that. It's already in the Local Government Act. What's not in the Local Government Act is the senior staff positions, which I'm proposing for resolution, hence why it's only been from the general manager down. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Madam
We'll
Mayor,
now
if I
move-
could just follow up
Can we just go to
with the
debate
question.
first?
It's still related to the same
Yeah,
question.
we'll
that's
just
been
hold
asked.
that and give Councillor Nolan as the mover and go into debate, and you can ask that. Councillor Nolan, as the mover to the motion, do you want to speak to the motion? Thank you, councillor Nolan. Councillor Kennedy, you had a question to the general
Yeah,
manager?
just a follow-up question, and I'm sure that everyone understands it's optics are everything when it comes to the community. And when you see mayor and councillors written in small writing on the side there, maybe not in a reporting line, but that's the way people view it. It might mean here tonight that it's the executive support does mayor, councillors, GM and ELT, but the reality is mayor, councillor, the community sees mayor and councillors over to that side, and it's concerning because the council and the mayor actually make the decisions for the community, and a lot of people are still asking about the brothel that was approved out the south. So I think we need to be very clear who runs the council and who makes the decisions when it comes to setting strategic direction for this city.
Was there a question there?
Question was, I'm sure everyone understands that the optics are very important when it comes to the way things are perceived in the community. So the question was, does the council and the general manager understand that optics are important? And the general manager did explain what's written there, but that might be fine here. It's what goes out to the community and what the community sees. And when you have the community coming back to councillors saying, who made the decision to put a brothel out the south? And I say, well, not the council, that's for sure. And then they see that, they start questioning who makes the decisions in council. So optics are important, and I'd like people to acknowledge that optics are important.
Councillor, Council, I need a speaker against the motion. Do you consider that, Councillor Page? Councillor Page, are you able to?
Oh.
And reaching close to the mic.
Yes, Madam Mayor, just a question to the General Manager. I believe the incoming council will change a lot of the structure in regard to 355 committees, standing committees and a line budget. We always had a line budget. We knew every dollar in the budget, where it was about to go. And I'm quite sure after the election, we'll have councillors and a mayor here that will want to see those changes. So your current proposal, will that affect those issues I've brought up?
Mr. General Manager, able to answer that?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. No, I don't believe so. This sets the operational structure of council so we can deliver council's delivery and strategic plan, whatever the new council decide in regards to committee structures will work in.
Okay, thank you, Mr. General Manager.
Thank you. Councillor Clark is speaking for the motion.
I'm just offering a suggestion here which might pave the way for Councillor Kennedy and also other people who may be a bit confused. Just above where it says Mayor, Councillors, General Manager and ELT, and underneath those positions which support them, could we have the word supporting?
Just give me a moment, Councillor. I'm just going to go to the page.
114, Madam Mayor. 114. And if there's any confusion, that would sort it out. It would just give their role as supporting those people.
Thank you for that, Councillor. May the General Manager will take that on board.
Madam Mayor, could I ask a question?
Yes, Councillor McCool.
Is it possible to, on this graphic, move an amendment that we just simply put councillors and the mayor above the general manager box with a line going down to it, as well as that box with the supporting staff for councillors management?
Well, I think the General Manager said that that would happen. That is the process.
So when this goes out, excuse me, Madam Mayor, but when this goes out on public exhibition, there will be a graphic that shows that the council is in a position above the general manager, with the general manager reporting directly to the
I think that's what the General Manager said earlier, that all we wanted to show was the structure that he is responsible for. And we include the word supporting. Mr. General Manager, is that correct?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, it's certainly correct. when it's published, it'll show the structure as per the Local Government Act, which is the mayor, the councillors, then the general manager. And as again I said, it's really just the purpose of showing the councillors how I'm setting the operational structure. And I'll take on board Councillor Clark's comments, or we can just remove the 4 dot points and have executive support. Either way, it resolves that situation. I'll make those amendments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move an amendment, Madam Mayor.
What's your amendment,
My
councillor?
amendment is that it be deferred until the new council is elected.
Second that.
You seconded it, councillor Gallagher? Oh, sorry, councillor Allgate? No, councillor Kennedy moved it. Did you second it? Sorry, it's hard to hear with the mask. Okay, councillor Kennedy, do you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would speak to that. I acknowledge what Councillor Page had to say. The reality is there will be a new council. Could be very much the same council we have currently, but there will be an election in September. And the new council needs to be involved. As per the Act, the new council will be part of the new structure anyway, and works with the general manager to set a new structure once they've been elected. This is only 2 months away, and it'll give a great opportunity for the general manager to work through with the new council and explain to them the importance of those positions. I have looked through it, through the structure, and I see no problems in the structure itself, but I might not be here in 2 months' time. And I think that it's incumbent on us as councillors that the new council will be involved right from the beginning with the new general managers to set the new direction for the council. The general manager sets the structure in consultation with the council. Consultation means each way speaking, and then the final thing goes, the general manager writes it and then puts it to the council. I think it's an opportunity for the general manager to work with what could be 10 new people and explain to them the reasons why this structure is important. The general manager needs to be given the opportunity to go ahead with a new council, with that council's vision, and the general manager implementing it and giving advice on how he thinks the council needs to be resourced and structured to put forward the strategic ideas and plans of the new council.
Thank you, councillor Kennedy. Speakers against the
I'll
amendment?
speak against it,
Councillor
Madam Mayor.
Brown?
Oh, thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd make a couple of points. First, there is a fairly serious question of timing in this proposal. At least a number of those positions are currently vacant. I think it's really important, given the difficulty of attracting quality professionals, that we start that process as soon as possible. And we need to know exactly what we are recruiting for. The other thing is I suppose the major issue that the general manager is proposing about the financial management, I suppose. I think that's an important part of this proposed realignment. We do need, given the general manager's professional financial skills, I think it's important that we take an opportunity to complement the traditional part of that CFO role with some additional duties. And I think I don't see the point of waiting another few months again, given the time it takes for that recruitment process. It could put us back 12 months, I think, until we get this actually working. So the sooner we start, the better.
Thank you. Speakers for the amendment? No more speakers for the amendment. I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Page, Councillor Gallagher. Against? Councillor Brown, Councillor Clark, Councillor Cool, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Adams, Mayor Shirley. The amendment is lost. We'll move to the back to the original motion. If there's no further debate, Councillor Nolan, would you like a right of reply? Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour.
Ask the question.
What's your question, councillor?
I might be wrong, but the general manager might correct me. Isn't it a fact that when a new council is elected, that council must, in a short period of time, review the structure of the council?
Mr. General Manager?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Not since the 2016 Local Government Amendment Act, not so
Right.
much amend the structure, but they do review the senior staff positions, which are the 3 blue positions that are highlighted. But that process happens along with all the policies and other reports of council that are reviewed by the new incoming council.
Thank you, councillor Allgate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, councillor Brown, councillor Clark, councillor Cool, councillor Nolan, councillor Adams, Mayor Shirley. Against, councillor Kennedy, councillor Allgate, councillor Page, councillor Gallagher. The motion is passed. Thank you, councillors. Move to item 5, Broken Hill City Council report. The minutes for the Audit and Risk Committee. Councillor Nolan, are you moving that way?
I'll move that way.
Okay, councillor Gallagher. Seconder, councillor Clark. Councillor Gallagher, going to speak to the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor. It was a good meeting that we had at the Audit Risk Management Improvement Committee. It made a lot of inroads in relation to risk management, and a lot of things were discussed in relation to the betterment of the city itself and certain areas of council. So it's a well-written report, and I commend the report.
Thank you, councillor. Debate? No debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declared it unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Move to item 6, Broken Hill City Council Report 93/21, the Monday Fringe Footpath Dining Exemptions. Councillor LeCour, are you moving that way?
I'll move that way, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Second by councillor Adams. Councillor LeCour, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, Madam Mayor, I think it's a good way of supporting local businesses and the community for this event. That's all, thanks.
Thank you.
Question, Madam Mayor.
Councillor
sorry.
Kennedy?
Question, Madam Mayor. This is very, very good. I think anything that adds to this, but the question is, with the COVID, have you been in contact with the organisers? I'd hate to see them fail another time and lose out again. Are they confident that it's going to continue, or?
Mr. General Manager.
Sorry, thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, we've been in contact with them. Obviously, they're just playing it day by day at the moment and seeing what happens over the next 1 to 2 weeks, but they're confident from their perspective that they've got the right COVID-19 safety plans in place. Many of their attendees are already or will be vaccinated, and they're self-travellers, but it really just depends on the current situation, the border closures, but they're playing it day by day.
Thank you. Councillor Page, are you speaking against the motion?
No, I'd just like to make comment and make a look forward something. I think I've mentioned it, not on one occasion, but many occasions, about meet and greet team for this function and others. And I think that, and volunteers, quite a few Broken Hill people would love to volunteer to help out. We need help at the tourist centre. This is a golden opportunity to have some volunteers and meet and greet people.
Thank you, Councillor. I understand that is being organised. Our City Development Officer and Andrews has organised that, and there will be a big clean-up on the 8th of August. So for the councillors, Councillor Page and everyone, I know that the Deputy Mayor would like you to all volunteer. So if there's no further debate, Councillor.
I'll just comment what a wonderful job the Deputy Mayor has done in regard to cleaning up and she's a very good worker for this community.
Absolutely. Councillor Cool, do you want to write a reply?
Councillor Adams can't tell that we're all smiling.
She knows. She knows what you're thinking there. Okay,
No, Madam Mayor.
thank you. If there's no debate, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declared it carried unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Move to item 7, the report number 94/21, the draft Broken Hill Cultural Plan 2021-2040, page 135. Do I have a mover? Moved by councillor Adams, second by councillor Clark. Councillor Adams.
Yes, Madam Mayor, this is, this is a very comprehensive report, which is going to take us a while to really get into, but it's extremely important in helping us guide our way, but it is going out for public exhibition. Just a couple of things that I would like to bring up. I sound like a broken record on this when these things come up. Page 182, the cultural, I think it's called Cultural Progress Calendar, or the Cultural Program Calendar. I can't read my own writing. Can we please have the Broken Hill Heritage Festival be listed? I have brought it up on several occasions. It's continually missed out. We are trying to make that an annual significant event for the city, and it doesn't help if it's not listed. The other thing was on page 193, and there's a column there of volunteers, and right through it goes N/A not applicable. I'm not quite sure what that means. A lot of the places that are listed, that it says not applicable for volunteers, and most of them have volunteers. I could be reading it wrong. I just wondered if someone could clarify what it is, what it means.
Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. It might be that the information's not available, but we will we'll confer that that's the correct answer and get back to you, councillors.
All right, because they're nearly all run by volunteers, all
And
those organisations.
Perhaps to be confirmed would be a better phrase. Anything else, councillor Adams?
No, thank you.
Madam Mayor, could I ask a question about this? It is a very comprehensive and detailed document. I'm just wondering whether there are any plans to present this to the public for their comment. I mean, I know people who are really interested will make the effort, and they'll look on the website and so on. But are there any other plans to let people know exactly what's contained in this draft report?
Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I might hand over to our Director of Corporate, Ms. Newman.
No, you have to press.
That one.
Yes.
What's the other one? I don't know. Definitely an intention to do further feedback to the community on this. It's really unsatisfactory given the size and the volume of the material in this to simply put it on display and put it on the website. That is truly not the way to go with something as important to this and to this city. We are a tourism direction. Mining is not why people come here. They come here for the tourist experience, and we better get this right. Therefore, there will be a considerable amount of consultation with the community on this, and coming back to council with that feedback. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, could I just make a comment there? Adding to what Ms. Newman has said there, it is certainly very important, and it does underline the importance of the culture here in Broken Hill for tourism, not only for tourism, but also for us who live here as well, and the recording of the stories and the history and the culture underlines, I think, the importance of our archives and and also where they're going to be housed in our new library. Just if I could ask a question there about where, I know that we're shovel ready. I know I've got a shovel. I'll certainly help to start the library off. But how are we going with our funding?
Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. We have an application with the federal government through the Building Better Regions program at the moment, which we're just waiting on those grants to be announced. I believe it was supposed to happen this month, but I'm guessing given some of the changes in federal government may have been delayed a little bit. So hopefully we'll find out in the next month or so. And we've also got an application in through the royalties for regions through the state government application with the state with the state government at the moment. So both funding pools have actually lined up for the first time, which they haven't previously. So hopefully we're successful, and we are working incredibly hard as a staffing group to make sure that both levels of government are speaking together. Thanks.
Okay, is there any speakers against?
I'll move an amendment, Madam Mayor.
What's your amendment, councillor?
Sorry. I move the recommendations, but I also move in a number 5 that council be provided with a report for the potential to look at actually getting that written and recorded historic thing from community members that are ageing. And I'll talk to it if I get a seconder.
Second that, Madam Chair.
You made an oral history, councillor.
Councillor, all 4 of the councillors that went to the Wentworth Murray-Darling Basin Authority, what we do understand, and I luckily spoke to former councillor McKinnon's son, and she has 2 sheds full of what is probably information that is no longer available anywhere else in the town. It's a record of history. It's too late for us to get her verbal history, but it's an important history, and it's a history that, and I have spoken to Miss Newman, we do speak regularly about this sort of stuff and how important it is, and particularly Councillor Brown and I, who we really do, and I'd assume because Councillor Clark also mentioned it's important to her as well. A lot of these people are, to put it as bluntly as you can, dropping off the planet, and we need to get them while they're there. We have a councillor that's been involved with the Broken Hill City Council from the early 80s, and Councillor Brown has a wealth of history that we need to record. We can't record Councillor Fran McKinnon, but she does have a shed for it. And if we could just get a report back on the potential to include that in the cultural plan and what we can do to have that oral history and that as soon as possible, because the longer we leave it, and this isn't something that's been chucked on Ms. Noonan, because we do talk about it, and I think it's something that the council should follow up as a matter of urgency. We already have some people, but we need to get out there and get everyone we can, minors. I was telling Councillor Brown about when I was in year 11, we actually interviewed a World War I veteran who is long since passed off, but that still played at the Broken Hill High School for year 11 and 12 history. So that is now 5 years old. So we need to get this recorded history as soon as we can.
Councillor Kennedy, happy for Councillor Adams to include that in her original motion? Okay,
Yeah.
Councillor Adams?
Yeah, I just, as an aside as well, just for your information, Councillor Kennedy, this has come up at the Heritage Committee. We are looking at doing a program with, I've spoken to the head librarian, the library manager, who has facilities and so on down there to do that. We're hoping to start that very soon. And there's also a possibility of getting assistance from the National Library in Canberra, linking it all up. So what we're looking for is names of people that we know. I know, unfortunately, I was given a name, and that was the late Tonkin, and before I could get to put, he died next day. So that is going to happen. So we do need to get onto something like that pretty quickly.
So Councillor Kennedy is happy to be included in your motion. There's no further debate.
Just one more thing, Madam Mayor.
Yep.
That is the problem. We've got to get onto them straight away. We lose those. We have one here tonight. Councillor Brown
We're not gonna lose her.
already
I can
named herself as our
guarantee you
first,
we're not going to lose her.
our first respondent.
What happened at this conference? Goodness me. What about Councillor Page? He was a mayor.
He hasn't been around as long.
Okay. I don't know.
Sorry, Councillor Brown.
Councillor Kennedy, you better.
Okay, Councillor Adams it's incorporated in Councillor Adams' motion. There's no further debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declared it carried unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Move to item 8, Broken Hill City Council report dated 18th of June, report number 95/21, page 261. It's the draft cybersecurity framework for public exhibition. Do I have a mover? Councillor Gallagher, seconder, Councillor Clark. Councillor Gallagher, do you want to speak to the motion? Okay, is there any debate? If there's no debate, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declared it carried. Oh, gosh. Item 9, Broken Hill City Council report number 96/21, draft contract management policy for public exhibition, page 279. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Clark, seconder, Councillor Brown. Councillor Clark, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, not really, Madam Mayor. I think that it is quite comprehensive there, and there is an obvious need for it.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Is there any debate? No debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's a unanimous vote. Thank you, councillors. Item 10, Broken Hill City Council report number 97/21. The draft Crown Land plans of management for parks, sports grounds, general community use and natural areas, page 299. Do I have a mover? Councillor Adams, seconder, Councillor Brown. Councillor Adams, do you want to speak to the motion?
It's fine, thanks, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, Councillor Adams, Councillor Nolan, I watch you all the time. You're right in front of me. You want to speak to the motion? All those in favour? It's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Item 11, Broken Hill City Council report 98/21, the adoption of the draft delivery program 2021/2022, incorporating operational plan for the 2021/2022, inclusive of the statement of revenue policy and draft schedule of fees and charges. Moved by Councillor Adams. You moving that way, Councillor Adams? Oh, okay. Is there a mover? No mover? Sorry. Councillor Nolan. Seconder, Councillor Clark. Councillor Nolan, do you want to speak to the motion? Councillor Nolan, you've got to turn your mic on. It's a very big motion. That's why, councillor, there's 4 points to it that you moved. You're muted again, councillor. Thank you, Councillor Nolan. Speakers against? No speakers again?
Ask some questions,
Yeah, it's councillor Allgate.
comment and questions, Madam
What's
Chair.
What's your question, councillor?
Oh, the first one's a comment about on page 446, I think, is it 455, sorry.
Yes, councillor?
The responses to the public submissions. (446) and 447. On in 447, I think it is, the comments have been put in the wrong box there. There's a submission in objecting to the large rise in rates over the last 4 years. And the response from the council is no amendment made, pensioner rebates are funded. You've got the comments in the wrong boxes.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that, councillor.
The second thing that I found, I mean, I wasn't surprised because I knew it was, but I think it was on, I'd have to find it, to be honest. It's where the coloured pictures are about where the money is being spent. I thought it was quite comical to find that the aquatic centre, we're paying 1.32 million to the YMCA to make sure that we don't have to run it. I personally, I think that's absolutely laughable. Absolutely laughable. The other thing that concerns me is that on page, on several pages, there in the financial section, there's this indication of others, and I think it's on page 477. There's something like $9 million in others. Now, you know, $9 million is about 30% of our total budget, a normal total budget. Can I ask what the $9 million is? I was looking for legal fees, and there's no legal fees mentioned anywhere in the report that I can see. And I've been through it and through it. But this others, $9 million, you know, what are we approving? I don't know what we're approving.
Mr. General Manager.
We're supposed to be responsible for the expenditure. And if you vote on this, you're supposed to know what that others is. I certainly don't know what it is.
So, Mr. General Manager's answering.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Councillor Allgate, what page is the $9 million on? I can only see.
Just if you give me time, these things are useless to try and.
While you're looking,
I've got
I can see that we've got $4.8 million in other in our 2022 proposed budget. That's made up of our utilities, so electricity, water, telephone charges, and then all our incidentals. Legal fees is tied into the materials and contracts. It's not broken down in this budget, but we can provide a breakdown of the proposed budget. The next line's down, but for the purposes of the delivery program, it's presented in the standard form for financial statements. But other expenses is just utilities, telephone, internet, and really just incidental expenses.
It's on page 477. What concerns me, I mean, the preamble to this report was that it was going to be easy for anybody to understand. I certainly don't accept that as a fact. And in terms of other expenses, in what you've got in front of you, in the money, leadership, community, economy, and environment. Yes, that's a sizable amount of money. And as far as I'm concerned, if we had, as Councillor Page said before, if we had line budgets, we'd know what those costs are. If somebody asked me what those costs are, I'd be guessing. And I'm sure most of the other councillors would be too. And I just find it hard to accept that we can have such a large portion of money that isn't spelled out what it's for. It's just others. The other thing I'm pleased about is that the capital grants money now seems to have gone back to a more realistic figure. And my concern still remains that probably the fictitious figure that we had for the current year, current financial year, what's unspent, which is the majority of it, will be rolled over to next year. Is that a fact, or is that unspent or that grants that we actually didn't get?
Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Certainly some of it will be presented back to council in the carry forwards report, but that'll be grants that we have received funding agreements for, but not yet received the full amount for. So if we received 5 or 10% of that grant, then obviously the next budget will include a carryover of what we're expecting to receive, or what we will receive, but we just haven't at that point in time in a carryover report.
Could I ask, is that a significant amount?
Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Can we take that on notice? We haven't done our end of year reconciliation yet to match all this up.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Move an amendment, Madam Mayor,
What's your
and
amendment
foreshadow many other amendments
today?
for this report.
Yeah, I also had one more question.
Sorry, I'll just go back to Councillor Kennedy's, Councillor Allgate's question, if you're okay with that, Councillor
It was
Kennedy.
it was towards the end on, I think it's page 5, according to this 558, in the fees and charges. It appears to me that we're now going to charge anybody that went to the rubbish tip with a car, a station wagon or whatever, would be $5 each visit. If it was a 75 trailer or a ute, it's $10, etc. If we pass this tonight, my understanding is that we've introduced a fee for everybody that takes the rubbish to the depot. Is that correct?
Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. These fees have remained unchanged from previous years. The waste vouchers that everyone received, the 5 free waste vouchers that everyone receives in the rates notices will still be provided. And these fees are for people who don't have waste vouchers or who have exceeded their 5 free waste vouchers.
Okay, well, my response to that was, why wasn't that put into the report? Another question I have is with the fees and charges, historically, not every year, but historically, there's been a request from me many times and from others. Why isn't there a column that refers to the last financial year's fees and charges and the new financial year's fees and charges, so that the individual councillors can see what the difference is in dollar terms, so that when they're asked, when the public asks them, how much has this gone up or not gone up, we can tell them. It means that that's not incorporated in the report this time, but I think it should be. And it's an omission that is important as far as I'm concerned, because reference to the previous year compared to this year gives us a clear understanding of what the movement is in dollar terms.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Mr. General Manager, is there any comment about the previous column about the fees and charges?
Sure. Thanks, Madam Mayor. We did actually have that in the draft report that went to council in April. That was going on public display, shows what the fees were this financial year and what they're proposed to be for next financial year. After public exhibition, without any changes to those fees, we've put the final fees and charges for adoption.
I move my amendment, Madam Mayor.
What's your amendment, councillor?
I
And just
move,
take it easy for Lisa, please.
so I will move the amend, because I have foreshadowed other amendments. I will go through them one at a time because I don't know which ones will be voted down and which ones won't be. So the first one is about the the rates that increased at Cananda Road, and then we're talking about the halfway point where the Cananda Road rates will reduce at general business rates will increase by a certain amount, and Cananda Road businesses will decrease, mines will increase by rate pegging. My motion is that the Cananda Road businesses go back to the 2016 rates and values and adjust the cents in the dollar to reflect that. That the general business rates remain what they were after the increase, and that mine rates pick up the additional cost to reduce the Cananda Road rates.
Sorry, we're just a bit confused of where you're speaking from.
Oh, so it's at number 4.45, dot point 8, which is the mine rates, dot point 6, which is the oh no, that's the wrong, dot point 4, the general rate, and dot point 5, which is the Cananda Road subcategory rate. I'll wait for a second before.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second it. Madam
Thank you,
Chair.
councillor.
The reason-
Just while we're, can you check that, councillor Kennedy, to see if that's,
Sorry, councillor Kennedy, would you be able to just read out your amendment again for Lisa to grab?
So the amendment is at number 4. So I don't know what the cents in the dollar would be, but the cents in the dollar be adjusted to not have the increase that we'd voted in the halfway point. So it'd just be rate pegging increase on what the amount was. The Cananda Road amount be what it would be at 2016 using the rates in the dollar to get back to that plus rate pegging. And at number 8, which is the mine, the general mine rate, to be increased to the cents in the dollar to make up the difference that is reflected in the normal business rate and the Cananda Road rate, so that council ends up getting the same amount, but instead of it being moved to general business, it's moved to mine rates.
does that reflect your motion, councillor? It's just a bit hard to,
Well, it's a bit hard. I think, see, it really needs the proper cents in the dollar, but we haven't got calculators here and that to work it out. But I think the general manager understands what's being said.
yeah, but the councillors need to understand.
Well, what's being said is that we go back to the general business rates, which is everywhere other than the Cananda Road, don't get the 11 or 12% increase that was proposed in the halfway point. That the Cananda Road don't just reduce their rates by 30%, they reduce it by what it went up to 12 months ago and back to the 2016, and that any additional then goes to the mine rates to catch up.
I have a question, Madam Mayor.
I'm just going to, before I take your question, I'm just going to make sure we've caught everything up. We hope that reflects it, councillor. If you,
Yeah.
do you have it written down so Lisa could see it?
No, that's good. That's good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay,
2016 plus
councillor Adams, what's your
Um,
question?
This paper has been out for general public for 28 days, as is, hasn't it? So if we make major changes, and they are quite major changes in this section here, does it have to go out to public inspection again? And if so, where do we stand as far as the adoption of this happening for the financial year, beginning of the financial year.
Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I mean, these are significant changes, but we're not changing the overall budget and the revenue coming in. Council has to adopt a rating structure tonight. So if council were of the view to go down this path with this amendment, we would need to make sure that we do the calculations prior to the end of the meeting to actually get the resolution with the cents and the dollars and the right base rate. But there could be amendments made to this tonight, but there needs to be a decision on rates. Otherwise, council won't receive any income for the next financial year.
Thank
Question,
you.
Madam Mayor? Can I?
I'm just going to let councillor Kennedy speak to his motion first, because we were just waiting for that because he hasn't spoken to his motion. Councillor Kennedy, do you want to speak to your motion? And then
Yes,
I'll
yeah.
take councillor Clark's question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The reason I move this motion is we've had a number of councillors go on radio, go to the media. We've had the mayor go to the media, continually talking about the mines pay more than their fair share of rates. Many of the councillors in this room have made their decision on the fact that the mines pay more than their fair share of rates. Councillors only have to look at number 4, that a general business rate under Section 5, all lands categorised by business and consistent of 15% base rate of 805 and a rate in the dollar on land value at 9.37 cents. When you include the 15%, it works out at about 1.6 cents, which means it's about 11 cents in the for each dollar paid in land value for normal businesses around town. You only have to go to number 8 to see that the mines only pay 9.7 cents rate per dollar. So I don't know where councillors have got off by telling this community time and time again that the mines pay way more than their fair share of rates, when people can see quite clearly here that businesses pay more rates in the dollar than what the mines do. Businesses in this town are suffering. Businesses in this town have had mine rates put on them for 7 or 8 years straight. Businesses cannot cope. You only have to go out to the West Side Plaza to see there's many businesses not in there anymore. Argent Street, many empty shops. The Coles Complex, many empty shops. Patton Precinct, many empty shops. The North Shopping Precinct, empty shops. Railway Town Shopping Precinct, empty shops. Oxide Street, empty shops. This is what happens when we have a council that ignores businesses regularly when it comes to increasing rates. We stopped it 2 years ago, but before that, this council, for a number of years, passed it on. The previous council did the same, and a lot of the councillors in this room are, and they have always gone out to the public and in media and said it's because the mines paid more than their fair share. What can be seen quite clearly from this tonight is mines are paying less in the dollars than what general business is. Theirs is 9.7, general business is 9.3, but when you take into account the base rate, it brings them up to about 11 cents in the dollar, which is more, 1.3 cents more than what the mines are paying. So before councillors go out and argue and tell businesses they're doing so well, being so cheap, how about we have a look at it and remember that the mines are very important to Broken Hill, but they must pay their share like everyone else. We have a construction going on near McDonald's because the trucks from the mines turn that way. The reality is mines are a heavy impact on the infrastructure of the city. They're important to employment. They're important to the community. But like all businesses, they need to be rated fairly. We need to ensure that the business in Cananda Road can afford to pay their rates. We all know that it almost finished a lot of businesses out on the Cananda Road, and only half what the increase is going to continue to keep a burden on those businesses, and then to apply 11% to other businesses and increase it to make it more than what the mines is, I think is almost disgusting.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Clark, you had a question?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and I don't think anybody has been out there saying that the mines are being hard done by. I'd just like to ask Councillor Kennedy, because he's done all of these calculations, what is the rate in the dollar effect that would that would have on the mines? So you're looking at the proposed rate here as 9.7. What is the rate in the dollar that would be paid under your proposal? If you can just let us know that, please.
Councillor Kennedy.
And this is not, don't, so I'd hate for Councillor Clark to take this the wrong way, but the reality is the mines are paying $1.5 million less than what they were before the council was putting it on to the residents. So I think it worked out about $300 and something thousand. So you could work it out percentagely wise pretty easily. I'm sure the general manager would be able to tell you roughly what it is.
Councillor Kennedy, so you're not sure?
I could work it out right now, as anyone could. It's just a percentage calculation of, if you give me a calculator, I could do it right now. What you're doing is you're moving what was increased onto the Cananda Road, the amount that was increased, put onto all the Cananda Road precinct businesses, and put it back 12 months ago and putting it on the mine rates.
My point, Madam Mayor, that I was making, I was making a genuine request for information, because we can't vote on something where we don't have that information in front of us.
Thank you, Councillor. Speakers against the amendment? No speakers against the amendment. I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Page. Against? Councillor Brown, Councillor Clark, Councillor Cool, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Adams, Mayor Turley. The amendment is lost. Councillor Kennedy, you indicated another amendment.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, that. So at the domestic waste, number 9, that is increased by 4% and 3.5%. I move that the domestic waste management charge under section 496 and the rest that's written there only increase by rate pegging. I know that may mean that it's not a full dollar amount, but it should be rounded down, not rounded up to 4%, because we can't split the dollar amount in.
This is item 9 at domestic waste management. Lisa, have you been able to capture only increase by rate pegging? Seconder for Councillor Kennedy's amendment.
Second.
Second by Councillor Allgate. Councillor Kennedy, do you want to speak to your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would speak to it. So the domestic waste usage charge increased by 3.2%. The domestic waste administration fee increased by 4.1%. I assume that is to take care of a roundup, but the reality is all these dollar amounts add up. If you go up by 3.2% and 4.1% over a period of time, it has a significant compounding effect. We as a council should ensure that our rate pegging is kept. All our charges are kept in line with rate pegging. The reason that the state government makes these rate pegging, or the IPART makes these rate pegging amounts, is because council should learn to live within their means, and that it may only be $1 or $2 per household, but I'm sure most in the community would rather $1 or $2 in their pockets than $1 and $2 somewhere else.
Thank you. Any speakers against the amendment? No speakers against. I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Page, Councillor Gallagher. All those against? Councillor Brown, Councillor Clark, Councillor Cool, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Adams, Mayor Turley. The amendment is lost. Do you have another foreshadowed motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, that council increase the pensioner rebate to match the state government's contribution.
Seconder, councillor
that.
Allgate.
Second that.
Councillor Kenny, do you want to speak to the motion?
I do, Madam Mayor. I speak to the motion.
So which item was that? Which number was that?
That would have to be a number 14. It's in none of the numbers.
Are you adding, you're adding an extra one?
Yep.
So this is, sorry, Lisa, we'll just add that this is an extra one added. Councillor Kennedy, you want to speak to your motion, your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it's what has happened in the last few years. The state government now provides 55% of the rate pensioner rebate. Council provides 45% of the pensioner rebate. I assume that's because council has not increased its share of the pensioner rebate for a number of years. For a long time, our council, our proud council, supplied 50% along with 50% from the state government. It will be, I'm not sure of the exact amount, but it's important that as a council, we support the pensioners of this city. The pensioners often hit hardest when council increases rate burden, when they transfer rates from the mines to residential properties or to businesses. They are hit hardest. To counter that, as a council, we need to ensure that we give pensioners as much support as we can. It may cost council an amount of money, but the reality is pensioners must be looked after, and as a council, we should do all we can to make sure that we give them as much help as we can.
Thank you, councillor. Speakers against? No speakers against. I'll put the amendment. All those in favour, councillor Kennedy, councillor Allgate, councillor Page, councillor Gallagher. Against, councillor Brown, councillor Clark, councillor LaCour, councillor Nolan, councillor Adams, Mayor Turley. Councillor, do you have any other foreshadowed motions?
I thank you, Madam Mayor. I have quite a few. I also move that at 14, that council accept cash and cheque when people go in to pay for their rates or any other product at the front desk of council.
Happy to second that as well.
Thank you, councillor Allgate.
I moved this. I'm not sure how many councillors have had people see them, but I've had dozens, I'd say. Talk to me about the inability to pay not only for cash at the front desk, but also cheques. These are elderly people that don't use banks, like to pay in person, not via credit card, not bank cards, not going to internet banking or anything like these people like to pay with cash or cheque, so that they see it go over the counter, it's stamped, they know their rates have paid. And when you have people that are aged 80 and 90 coming in to see you on a regular basis about concern about council not accepting firstly cash and then cheques, and council doing nothing about that, it is disappointing for them, and they lose an extreme amount of confidence in the council to govern. Thank you.
A question,
Thank
Madam
you.
Mayor?
Can I,
Just a question.
Christian?
Councillor LaCour.
Yep. When did council stop accepting cash and cheque over the front?
I think it was implemented with the COVID-19. So I'll hand over to the General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Council adopted it last budget in the delivery program to stop taking cash and cheque at our facilities. Firstly, it was through COVID-19, obviously, when there was you're trying to limit the movement of cash and paper and go electronic. But secondly, there was a decision made by council in the budget last year to reduce our operational costs that are associated with cash and cheque transactions with security, and that the option for people to pay their rates or debtors via cash or cheque is available through our partnership with Australia Post.
Thank you, councillor
So-
Clark. You had, sorry,
Yeah.
councillor, wait on, let's go. Councillor Cool had a follow-up question, then I'll go to councillor Clark.
So anyone can still go to the post office and pay cash or cheque rates or a bill or anything like that?
Mr General Manager,
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yes, that's correct.
thank you. Councillor Clark? Thanks. Sorry, I just had questions from councillor Cool first. No further questions. Is there any debate? No debate. I'll put the amendment. All those in favour, councillor Kennedy, councillor Allgate, councillor Page, councillor Kennedy, councillor Allgate, councillor Page, councillor Adams, councillor Clark. Against, councillor Brown, councillor Cool, councillor Nolan, councillor Gallagher and Mayor Turley. Mayor Turley now has the deciding vote, which I hate, but as such, I'll vote against the amendment and declare the amendment lost. We'll now move to another amendment, councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I move that the rates and charges be amended that council does not collect for residential rates for people to use the waste facility at the Broken Hill waste facility.
Second that.
So you're moving that we do not collect fees. Yeah, I thought you said rates. The council does not collect fees, and that would be item 14. And Allgates, councillor Allgate seconding that. Councillor Ken, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, I would. This has been an absolute disaster to have charges for residential dumping of waste. In my time as a councillor, I've never had so much negative feedback on a program that has been introduced by council. We now know that there's a number of dumping sites out the south, behind the gun club, behind the wreckers, near the speedway, behind the former drive-in. There are many dump sites that are popping up all around town because council is charging to dump waste. We also should know, and councillors should know, that the EPA made it quite clear when introducing paid dumping charges. Often it costs more for a council and the community than what they ever make from trying to make that money. This is an opportunity for councillors to return back to a normal rating structure with our land prices being so cheap. The cost of increasing dump size is minuscule compared to city councils. We already charged the community $240 for, so what's that, 500 per annum? So we charged $340 already, $342 for waste services, and then we hit the community up again. What has happened is, particularly with bobcats and stuff, people were paying $300 to have their yards cleaned with a bobcat and then paying $500 to have that rubbish dumped at the dump. This is at a time when a council gets rid of Australian vermiculture, which saved more in landfill than any other proposed savings out the dump. We then put it onto the community, and the community are paying heavily for this, and the community are not only paying in the way that some people are paying and others aren't. People are also now dumping outside of the city boundaries, or not far, still just inside the city boundaries, because they cannot afford to pay the outlandish rate garbage fee charges that this council has introduced.
Thank you, councillor Kennedy. Just before I go to councillor Clark, Mr General Manager, has there been an increase in dumping in the region in those areas since the fee's been introduced?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. We don't actually collect the data to have any baseline data about the increase. But there is more of a compliance role that we can play in that area. But I mean, bad behaviours are not an excuse for a fee charge.
Thank you, Councillor Clark.
I'm actually speaking against that amendment, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
I think, we've had a policy for a long time there without charges at the tip. And that was at the same time as councils elsewhere have had fees. People elsewhere have been paying fees to take rubbish to the tip for a long, long time. I think that it was the relatively new introduction of the fees that caused people to complain when they were first introduced. I don't think there's that sort of opposition now. Despite what Councillor Kennedy has said, I think that most people appreciate the need for fees and charges. They're prepared to pay them. They have particularly been more compliant with this as we have the voucher system. The voucher system is quite a generous system for most people. As for the dumping that took place long before fees were introduced at the tip. If you are going to dump rubbish, if you are the type of person who will dump rubbish, you will dump it whether there are fees or whether there are no fees. It really doesn't seem to matter to those people. I speak against this.
Thank you, Councillor. Speaker 4? No speaker 4?
For Madam Chair. I mean, Councillor Clark said that people are quite, or she indicated, I think if I understood right, that she indicated that there isn't a great deal of public animosity about charges to the depot. The thing is that I know people that have said to me in recent times that a classic one example. An old lady hired not a removalist, but a sort of handyman, because her bed had failed. She bought a new mattress and a few other things. So she had this handyman come with a truck to take the mattress and a heap of other gear out to the depot. She was charged, I think it was something like $30. I think she said $20 for the mattress, and so much for some of the other stuff. The mattress was a single charge on its own, and the other stuff included. Now that's just one example. The second thing is that a lot of younger families generate. We may not generate a lot of rubbish, but a lot of the younger families that are getting established in new homes and whatever, they generate a hell of a lot of rubbish, particularly those families that have 2 or 3 children. The amount of waste that they get can't be handled, particularly in the summer, can't be handled by just one service a week. And the 5 vouchers that they get don't last any time. If they get 3 months out of five vouchers, they're lucky, some people. The mayor's looking a bit frowned there. Maybe she doesn't go to the depot.
You can
but the
see
thing is,
beyond my mask, Councillor Orgate.
Pardon?
You can see beyond my mask, do you think?
yeah, that sweet look in your eyes.
Oh.
The thing is that I sympathise with the young families particularly, and the older people who have no means themselves to get rubbish to the depot. And when they do get somebody to get the rubbish that they create through no fault of their own, they're charged. And that one example of $30 for a pensioner, this pensioner who lives in Cummins Street, who pays, I think she said, more than $2,000 a year for council rates. And then she gets the fellow to to take the gear to the depot, and what happens? She's got to pay another $30. She lives from week to week, from pension check to pension check. And she's not on her own. There are a lot of people like that. And perhaps the older ones older people like me, that we don't generate all that much rubbish. But I sympathise for her because, you know, every now and once in a lifetime or twice in a lifetime, renew our mattresses. And then we suffer for it if we haven't got any vouchers. It's about time that this council listened to the community and considered what the hardship some of them are going through. I mean, we're fine. We're fine. It's not about us. It's about the ratepayers out there that are doing it bloody tough. And this is one way that we can help them. I mean, we're doing everything we can to stop, to make sure that we don't help them. For Christ's sake, there's got to be at some stage we turn around and give them a bit of leeway and give them a bit of help. You've knocked over the pensioner matching the state government's pension concession, the council matching it. So immediately you don't even consider giving a little bit more money in concession terms. Now you won't consider, or now you don't seem to be considering I'm not forecasting the result, but you don't seem to be considering the people who are actually paying the penalty for the decisions that this council make. And there's lots of them, I can assure you.
Thank you, councillor. Is there any speakers against the amendment? No further speakers against the amendment. I'll put the amendment. All those in favour, councillor Kennedy, councillor Allgate, councillor Page, councillor Gallagher. Against, councillor Brown, councillor Clark, councillor Cool, councillor Nolan. Councillor Nolan? Councillor Nolan. I think he's gone to sleep. And this is why they should not have told. I don't. I'll just give him a call. Sorry, I'll just, do you want to call him while I do this? He might be in a very warm room for which we are not. I was watching oops, we've lost him altogether now, he's bumped. Councillor Nolan, you've had a little nod, a little sleep, and we need you to vote. So Councillor Kennedy had an amendment. It was Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Page, and Councillor Gallagher voted for it. Councillor Brown, Councillor Clark, Councillor Cool, and we're up to you. Are you voting for or against? Yeah. It's to waiver the fees for the waste repository. It's Councillor Kennedy's amendment to waive any waste fees. Thank you. And I suggested that you probably had a very warm room because we don't have one. It often makes you sleepy. Yeah. Councillor Adams, where are you voting? You voted against the amendment. Sorry, we just didn't have that up there. And Councillor Turley against the amendment, declared the amendment lost. Councillor Kennedy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm at number 13, that in accordance with section 5.6, so that whole paragraph, instead of adopt 6%, that they adopt CPI. Rates and charge.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. Councillor Kennedy, do you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council shouldn't be making money out of people struggling to pay rates. The reality is we don't want to lose money, and CPI covers our costs. To add interest of 6% is just taking advantage and making it harder for people to pay rates. People are struggling to pay rates anyway. The 6% adds a burden onto those people, which may make it even harder. As Councillor Allgate said, many people live week to week. $30 is a lot of money, and so is 6%. They're struggling to pay it. Most people, when they haven't paid, is not a deliberate act of not paying. It is that they either can't afford it, they've forgotten, and the increase in interest can often be the difference between them paying that rate amount because they can't afford it. Council also often sends it off to debt collectors, which scares people. And then there's the additional charges if it goes beyond that and it ends up in a court assessment and $600. We as a council have to make sure that the community can afford to pay their rates. We shouldn't be burdening them beyond what they can pay. We as a council should be looking after our ratepayers. Our ratepayers are not only our shareholders, they are also our customers and so also the owners of all council's assets. And I thank them and I hope that at least this one gets up.
Mr. General Manager, what was the percentage last financial year?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think last year's percentage was 8%. We follow the statutory recommendation that comes out from the Office of Local Government in each year. So it's always in accordance with their recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor. Is any speakers?
Madam Mayor, I
against?
have a question.
Yeah, question,
Through
Councillor.
the General
Leclerc.
Manager. At what point, if someone has some overdue rates, at what point are they charged that interest? And if you could explain what the process is with regards to someone who has overdue rates and what sort of mechanisms we have to help people.
Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. The overdue interest rates charged basically straight the day after an instalment due that hasn't been paid in full. So the overdue interest rate will start straight away. Council has a debt recovery policy, which is any amounts over $50 is then followed up in regards to reminder letters and then moving off to our debt collection agencies for a further reminder letter. And then they run through their process for collections. Anyone that we always encourage everybody to either apply for hardship if they do have hardship, which does freeze the overdue interest rate. Stops putting that on if they can show that they have gone through a hardship policy and application. And secondly, putting in payment arrangements and very reasonable with payment arrangements to ensure there's no further debt recovery costs incurred on the ratepayer, and obviously very understanding over the last 18 months through times of COVID-19 and people losing their jobs and reduced income. We've seen a lot of people go in payment arrangements. It's only a small percentage of people that don't really want to go down that path, and they're the people that we can't get in contact with that would rather not pay than go through a payment arrangement with council.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Councillor Clark.
Yes, thank you. Just another question there. Have we had a lot of people apply for hardship? I know you said there were people who didn't want to, but do we have people applying for hardship?
Mr. General Manager, and also if you could also answer, there was issues in the Audit and Risk Committee around the poor payment of rates as well, a high percentage of our ratepayers. So do you want to address that?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So I'll address the first one. We usually get about only 1 to 2 applications for hardship each year. And we do make that available to everybody that rings up with unpaid rates, but also putting out media around this time each year when the new rates notices going out, that if anyone does struggle, they've got the opportunity for hardship, and it is on every single rates notice as well to arrange payment arrangements or apply for hardship. The second question from Madam Mayor is we do have a really high outstanding rates and charges balance. It's around 14 to 15% at the moment. It's incredibly high. For a council our size, it should be between 5 to 10%, the benchmark in local government to get your outstanding rates down to. That has grown over the last 12 to 18 months as a result of COVID, but we are needing to work harder to reduce our outstanding rates because it is a liability on the council, obviously continuing to fund services as if we had that income, whereas we're obviously chasing it. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr General Manager.
Can I make a comment, Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Allgate, Councillor Allgate.
I'm a bit surprised that the council, I think the General Manager said you only get 1 or 2 hardship cases. Is that right?
Mr General Manager, that was,
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Those that will actually put in an application follow the process all the way through. I believe it's one or 2 each year.
But the debt level is quite high at the moment. The outstanding rate
Outstanding
debts
rates is high.
you said, was it 14 or 15%?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. The other thing, the other comment I was going to make, that I would have seen, when I say seen, people have come to me in the last couple of months fearful of what their rates might be. And these are elderly people. And predominantly they live in the Wyman and Cummins and then and a couple up in Oxide Street. They're currently paying more than $2,000 a year for rates. They wouldn't come to the council to claim for hardship because it's so humiliating and embarrassing for them to do it. Because I've said you should go down and talk to the rates people, and you know there's a hardship arrangement. But no, they wouldn't do that. They're terrified. Elderly people don't find it comfortable to go to somebody and tell the person behind the counter that they can't afford to pay. That's terribly humiliating and embarrassing. I'm surprised that there's only been 1 or 2 that you spoke of. I've seen, I'd say, I think it was 5 over a period of 3 weeks, about 2 months ago, just before my wife passed away, actually. And 2 of them were people that have seen me almost every year for about the last 4 years. One lady in tears, well, at the time, she was about 87. She was still driving a car. She had to sell a car because she couldn't afford the registration because of the cost of electricity and all the rest of it. And because, you know, when she was younger and married, they built a nice house that was in Cummins. And now that those property values have skyrocketed up there, and her partner has passed away 3 years ago, she finds it terrible. She's one of the people that live from week to week. They have a nice house. She has a nice house, but no funds to back herself up. She lives from pension to pension. And from what she told me, and I've no reason not to believe her, and she's like 3 or 4 others that came to see me, and they've come to see me almost each year for the last 3 years. They'll go without food or go without putting the lights on or something like that so they can pay the bloody council rates. I don't like being associated with anything like that. And I'm surprised that the council doesn't get more hardship approaches, because there's a lot of bloody hardship out there with the elderly people. I can guarantee you that.
thank you. Any speakers against the amendment? If not,
Could I just ask, through you, Councillor Allgate, did the ladies mention whether they had made repayment arrangements?
No, they paid. They paid.
Not up front. Did they make
They
those?
paid the 4 instalments, only the instalments, and they went without to do that. They went without other things to do that. Terribly embarrassing for an elderly person who's been self-sufficient. And well, her husband was alive, it was fine. But once the husband's gone, a single pension, meet all the current costs, the cost of power, water, council rates, you name it, food. Had to sell a car, couldn't afford to register it, all this sort of thing. You know, it's a crying shame. And the council's contributing to that. The council's not the only cause, but the
Yeah,
council.
thank you, councillor.
Mm.
Okay, if there's no further,
I'm just wondering if council can make more public, possibly through the media, about the hardship arrangements that can be made for those people, for those pensioners. And perhaps some of them don't know about it. So maybe it just needs to be made a little more public. And also with the additional comments that it would be a private, that they would be able to do this in private.
thank you, councillor Clark. I'll put councillor Kennedy's amendment. All those in favour, councillor Kennedy, councillor Allgate, councillor Page, councillor Gallagher. Against, councillor Brown, councillor Clark, councillor Cool, councillor Nolan, councillor Adams, Mayor Turley. Declare the amendment lost. Councillor Kennedy, you had
I
another
only
one?
have two more, Madam Mayor. You'll be happy to hear.
Oh, okay, it's good debate.
That at number 14, that the Broken Hill City Council reintroduce a vermiculture program out at the waste facility and invite Australian Vermiculture to be a part of that.
Councillor Kennedy, are you seconding that? Councillor Kennedy, do you want to speak? To
Thank
your
you, Madam
amendment?
Mayor. I was reading in further along in the report, Landcare actually mentioned Australian vermiculture and how good that used to be for the Broken Hill community. A previous council actually increased the garbage disposal rate by $39 to offset $300 and something thousand that was paid to Australian vermiculture. That $300,000 after 2 years, that contract ceased with Australian vermiculture, but the council never withdrew the $39 increase that they did put on the community the prior few years at one of these operational and fees and charges meetings. Council needs to re-implement it. The reality is the best way to save landfill is via green waste reuse. It was a great program. It was a leading program. That program has now been moved to many other cities around the country. They actually sell their product to China. Chinese scientists have been involved. They sell it now in a liquid form, make lots of money, save lots of money for the of previous councils didn't see the value of that. We are now paying with it with future that long ago, because green waste, when it builds, produces its own heat and causes fires often. We need to get that back out there. We need to listen to Landcare Australia or Broken Hill Landcare and reintroduce what was a great product, a great service and a savings, not only to the council, but a service to the community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor, may I suggest just a slight alternative to what Councillor Kennedy said? If he's in agreement with it, with that motion. You speak?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, but from my memory, and I will be corrected, but as I understand it, the termination with vermiculture some years ago, there were financial and legal reasons why that was done. So I don't think that, it's in our position to sort of just invite them back at this stage. What I would perhaps ask Councillor Kennedy, would he be interested in perhaps asking us to investigate that kind of business to be to come to and discuss it with us as a council, but maybe actually put it out to tender for organisations that do that kind of work.
Okay, councillor, so what you're saying is that asking Councillor Kennedy if he'd say investigate a vermiculture program and that council goes out to tender. Councillor, just need to go to Councillor Kennedy first.
Happy to accept, but not the tender. I don't think we need to go that far at this stage. I think just investigate options and put it out to expressions of interest rather than tender, but happy to accept it as expressions of interest in the.
Thank you.
Councillor Clark and then Councillor Page.
Right. Thank you,
Are
Madam
you
Mayor.
speaking against the?
Well, look, in saying that I am, I'm also saying that this is a fabulous idea, but it's already being undertaken or being considered and investigated by our key working group, the Environment Key Working Group. So we are already investigating this, the possibility of this. And I believe that the General Manager may be able to give us also a few comments too about our waste management procedures there with the green waste and how this impacts on the idea of having the vermiculture program begun again at the waste facility. But it is certainly a fabulous idea and it is recognised as such by our Environment Key Working Group.
Mr. GM.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, it is in Council's sustainability strategy and waste strategy to reinvestigate this. And I believe I haven't got the actual terminology right in front of me, but it actually is in this delivery program under one of our key actions for the next 12 months under our environment to reinvestigate exactly this action item. Probably not as detailed as actually going out for an expression of interest straight away, but it is in the pathway of happening.
Okay, Councillor Page.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have already spoken to the Landcare group in Broken Hill in regard to out the rubbish dump. We have all the grinding, all the machinery out there. This council was a huge success in recycling all the green waste. Everything's still there, so we don't have to spend any money on machinery. It's all there. So I think, and I have spoken to Landcare and the Deputy Mayor in regard to this issue, and I think the sooner we invite Landcare to come and do a presentation to this council to let us know what they can do, I think it's long overdue. It should never been done away with, and it needs to be reintroduced, especially all the green waste, and then other companies like Councillor Kennedy said. You can invite other people, vermiculture, to come along and see what we can all do, being united and getting a good outcome. It's a bloody mess at the dump with the green waste.
Okay, and as the General Manager said, it is in the delivery program. I'll put, if there's no further discussion, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour, Councillor Brown, Councillor Clark, Councillor LaCour, Councillor Nolan, it's a unanimous vote. Thank you, councillors. LaCour, no, sorry. Councillor, all those against? Councillor LaCour. Thank you, councillors. Declare the amendment carried. We have one last one.
Yep, one last one, Madam Mayor. That landing fees for Recreational Aviation Australia Limited be waived at the Broken Hill City Council, and that we write to the hierarchy of the membership to let them know that, as per the submission that was handed in to council.
Second that.
Councillor Kennedy, do you want to speak to the motion?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. This isn't the first time this has been brought up at.
Sorry, I'll just take a moment and ask any councillors if they have any conflicts of interest in this. Nobody's a pilot here that has a conflict of interest, or it doesn't affect you?
It doesn't affect us. I don't own an aircraft, so
Okay,
the landing fees go with.
okay, thank you, councillor.
This isn't the first time this has been brought up, and this is a group that does have 10,000 members, and they did significantly bypass Broken Hill once council started charging that landing fee. The landing fee is not just landing, it's taken on. It's any time that the wheels touch the ground virtually. It did have an impact. It had an impact on numbers almost straight away. What impact it'll have for us with withdrawing this person's taken the time to write this submission, but I can assure everyone, if we did make those landing fees for those members exempt and wrote to that membership, you could potentially have hundreds of aircraft coming to Broken Hill regularly because word does get around. It's easy for them to go somewhere else. They've even got landing strips out at Stevens Creek. There's plenty of places that they can land, but what they do is they make an effort to make sure they won't go to a town that doesn't support them. It's not the money that concerns them greatly. They feel like it's a slap in the face. As the person said here, they spend $3,000 or $4,000 when they go to a community, but they'd rather go to a community that welcomes them by not charging them a landing fee than a community that tries to make a couple of dollars out of a plane landing. Light planes don't cause damage to the tarmac. Light planes are quite happy to land on the dirt airstrip out there. They're quite happy to land anywhere. But out of principle, they do not want to pay that, and they've taken the time to put in that submission. It's not the first submission I've seen. It's not the first time I've spoken to light aircraft pilots. The local pilots actually made their own runway out of anger about having to pay landing fees for their light aircraft out at the Broken Hill Airport. If we are serious about increasing tourism and making Broken Hill a livable city, a city that people want to visit, a people that tourists want to come to, a community that is loved by all, we need to start to introduce these sort of things so that people say, again, what a friendly, nice city Broken Hill is, not a money-grabbing city trying to make every dollar out of people coming in.
Thank you, councillor Kennedy. Councillor Clark?
Yeah, can I just ask councillor Kennedy, did they mention the places that don't charge them any landing fees?
Yes, they did. Sorry. Yes, they did, Councillor Clark. They said there's a number of them here. I have attached a list of at least 320 friendly landing fee-free towns. We intend to distribute the list to our members.
Thank you, councillor. Is there any debate? No debate. I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Kennedy, councillor Allgate, councillor Page against. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, councillor Page. Councillor Kennedy and councillor Allgate against. Councillor Brown, councillor Clark, councillor Cool, councillor Nolan, are you voting? Councillor Nolan, councillor Page, councillor Gallagher, councillor Adams and Mayor Turley. Thank you, councillors. Declared the amendment lost. Councillor Kennedy, is there any other amendments?
No, Madam Mayor, but I will speak against the motion.
Okay, so we go back to the original motion, including that one amendment around investigating vermiculture at the waste facility. So councillor. Sorry, no, I just got to go back to the original mover of this. Where is it? Councillor Nolan. Councillor Nolan, do you want to speak to the motion? As the original mover? Sorry, councillor Kennedy, you want to speak against the motion? Sorry,
Yes,
I
Madam Mayor.
gave the right of reply to councillor Nolan. I just realised you want to speak against the motion.
Yes, so I speak against the motion. I speak against the motion because I believe for it to be a truly good operational plan and fees and charges, all the amendments that I moved needed to be identified. I'm also, like councillor Allgate, I'm always concerned about budgets that aren't line budgets. For example, $13 million in wages, that allows a lot of movement, a lot of discretionary movement, who employed, who isn't employed. When you have a line budget, what happens is it tends to mean that budget votes always come to council. There isn't movements within the budget that can be done so easily. When you have a 4.8 million other expenses, unless it's detailed down to the exact amount, what it tends to happen is there's a lot of movement there as well. It allows a lot of discretionary movement. I, as a councillor, believe that the councillors are in charge of the budget, need to understand the budget, know where every dollar is. That doesn't mean micromanaging, but it means that if there is a movement within the budget, it comes back to council for us to approve it. That's not happening because of the amount of discretionary movement within the budgets, because it's not detailed the way it should be. For example, if you had a $30 million budget and you just put $30 million in expenditure, $29 million, 400,000 in profit, that allows $30 million to be moved however you like. Council still would have approved the budget at $30 million in expenses, but it allows those expenses to be spent wherever they like. That's what's happening with these budgets. They're not detailed enough, which allows a lot of discretionary movement. This is why we don't know who's employed, what's employed, because you have a figure of $13.5 million for wages. It allows someone to be employed over there, or a wage budget to be moved over there, whatever. But when it was line budgets, there'd be, for example, 8 people employed at the Sturt Park. If that budget come under budget, us councillors knew about it, and we made sure we took that money out and used it for the community. If there was savings, we always knew. If there was additional expenditure, for example, there was extra people employed somewhere else in a different department that resulted in a cost, we knew what that was. We knew it could identify very quickly where the extra money was, and it allowed us to ask questions. These budgets are written in a way that councillors aren't really making the decisions. I have never, until this council, been involved in a council that can go through a budget workshop in a few hours and pass it. When the first 7 or 8 years that I was on council, and I've heard this a lot about the council's deficit budgets and all that, we spent 5 or 6 days solid going through budgets, going through line budgets, talking about every single dollar that was spent. That's what councillors used to do. Councillors would spend dozens, tens of hours making sure. Councillors would pass motions about putting money into reserve, force the management to make savings here and there, ask, why is there $300,000 for wages in this department when you're only employing 3 people? Why is it that high? Fix it. Come back. The wages would come back $250,000 just by one question from one councillor. How can you honestly believe as councillors you know anything about it when you go through a briefing and a workshop that takes less than 2 hours to go through a $30 million budget. It takes longer than that for me to go through 1 week's budget at my own business. Crikey heck, a $30 million budget, and you think you can understand it in 2 hours. It used to be weeks and weeks and weeks of councillors attending budget workshops. That's because we had line budgets. We knew exactly what was going on. And this discretionary spending that goes on where we don't know where it's going happens all the time. And that's why I vote against it.
Thank you, councillor Kennedy. Is there any speakers? Oh, no, that's, sorry, we'll put the councillor Brown.
I was just going to say, councillor Nolan's given his
I know,
exercise his
yes.
right of reply. We're finished. We
Yes.
shouldn't have had that last speech.
I'm putting.
Pardon, Madam Mayor, just a point of clarification. I asked to speak against it
I
before.
know, I did clarify
so-
that. Councillor Kennedy, you don't need to do a clarification.
No, for Councillor Brown.
Yeah, it's fine, thank you.
Well, Councillor Brown was more or
No,
less saying
it's
that I
okay,
spoke out
thank
of order.
you. So I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? All those in favour, councillor Brown, councillor Clark, councillor Cool, councillor Nolan, councillor Adams, Mayor Turley. Against, councillor Kennedy, councillor Allgate, councillor Page, councillor Gallagher. Thank you, councillors. The motion's carried. We'll move to item 12. It's the Broken Hill City Council Report 99/21, the adoption of the draft long-term financial plan, page 565. Do I have a mover? Do I have a mover? Moved by councillor Brown, seconder. Councillor Cool, councillor Brown.
No, Madam Mayor, not at this point. There may be opportunities later.
Okay, thank you, councillor. Speakers against?
Just briefly, the reason I speak against it is the long-term financial plan actually includes a number of things that I voted against in the previous motion. For example, interest on overdue rates, etc. So I can't support this, considering I didn't support the last one.
Thank you, councillor Kennedy. If there's no debate, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, councillor Brown, councillor Clark, councillor Cool, councillor Nolan, councillor Adams, councillor Gallagher, Mayor Turley. Against, councillor Kennedy, councillor Allgate, councillor Page. Declared it carried. Now move to item 13, Broken Hill City Council Report 100/21, the adoption of the draft CBD Master Plan, page 615. Do I have a mover? Do I have a mover for this? Moved by councillor Cool. Moved by councillor Cool, second by councillor Nolan. Councillor Cool, do you want to speak to the motion?
Not at this stage.
Speakers against?
Yes, speak against, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Kennedy?
Look, there's some things in here that I like, and there's many things that I don't. I don't know if people will actually know what we're voting on. Key design initiative include things, create clear views of the town, the centre of the railway station by removing the obstructing wall, provide comfort furniture to encourage meeting places into the city, upgrade the public toilets, move them, relocate bus stops. I am strongly opposed to relocating bus stops in the precinct, remove car parking on the northern side of the road and widen the reserve adjacent to the courtyard to provide a central cultural garden. Totally against it. People that support this, support these things. I know it comes back to council, but you are supporting this plan in its entirety. Include an interactive water feature like that, consolidate service in infrastructure and reduce street clutter by incorporating smart poles. Don't mind that. Provide a centralised township shine to identify the city centre. Okay, nothing great though. Reconfiguration of car park, don't like it. Wouldn't work. Remove the centre medium strip, don't like it. I'm sure that most people in the community do not want to see the medium strip to allow a reconfiguration of the parking. Provide incentives to owners to improve the appearance of heritage buildings, already do it. Reconfigure intersection with curb protuberance, making pedestrian crossings safer. That means narrowing the streets. Also impact on parking, reconfiguring intersections with curbs, encourage activation of empty shops. That's something that empty shops can only be used by the owners of those buildings when they rent them out. If you want to have backlit projectors, then it will be a cost to the community. You have to, I assume, rent those shops. A street-wide banner program, we all agreed with that. Community assessment branded program, already do it. So there's plenty of things in here, and the reality is the master plan has been a waste of $200,000. We should have spent the $800,000 on infrastructure within the town centre. What we've actually done is made a document that the vast majority of people wouldn't like, especially when you start looking at the costs as they run into the millions and millions of dollars for things that we don't approve of. The costs are on pages 668, 669, 666, 667. To approve a master plan where the majority in it, just about all these councillors have said in this room have said there's some things they don't agree with. You vote for a plan, you agree with what's in the plan, and that includes the design recommendations. They won't be finalised till they come back to council, but the reality is, like our strategic plan, it is the blueprint of the direction we take.
Sorry,
And by proving,
Councillor Kennedy, just sorry to interrupt you, but it's 9 o'clock and I need to have
Oh,
a
no-
motion
no worries.
to extend the council meeting, moved by Councillor Gallagher, second by Councillor Clark. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Nolan, against, declared it carried unanimous. Thank you. Continue on, Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just about all council have said there's things in this that they don't agree with, but if they vote with it tonight, they are voting to say that this is the blueprint for the way forward for our CBD.
Thank you, councillor. Is there any further debate? No further debate. I'll put the motion.
Could I make a comment then, Madam Mayor? And I would have to say that I do agree with Councillor Kennedy that this is a huge document. And I really like the way that we had it broken down so that the interpretive wayfinding signage and banner poles for the CBD and Patton Street went ahead. And we are going to put those in place before Christmas. That's great. But there are a lot of other steps. I'm wondering if this plan can be broken down into smaller steps, such as we had with the wayfinding signage and banner poles.
Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. That's already happened on pages 665 through with the priorities. They've broken them down into simple segments that can be, used for later budget priorities.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Councillor LaCour, right a reply.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, it's a plan. Some people like things in it. Some people don't like things in it. Some people like a lot. Some people don't. Look, it's a plan that we can use. It's a plan that we can go forward with. Funding, yeah, we're waiting on, we're hoping to get major funding grants to take this through in stages. Okay, and hopefully we'll get those grants. It's a blueprint that we can use a way forward to go and improve our community. And already we've taken a major step with the light poles and the wayfinding signs. That's a step forward by this council to do something positive for our community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor LaCour. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Brown, Councillor Clark, Councillor LaCour, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Adams, Mayor Turley. Against? Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Page. Declared it carried. Very exciting times for Broken Hill. Item 14, Broken Hill City Council Report number 101/21, adoption of the draft tree management plan, page 749. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor LaCour, seconder Councillor Adams. Councillor LaCour, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, Madam Mayor, not at this stage.
Thank you, councillor. Speakers against?
Move an amendment, Madam Mayor.
What's your amendment,
Move
councillor?
1 and 2, and at 3, that any tree identified or requested to be assessed as hazardous to health or property be reported to council for action.
Seconder?
Second that, Madam Chair.
Reason I move this motion is that 761 of the report. Fourth last paragraph, insurance companies require a certain,
Excuse me, councillor, can you give us that page?
oh, sorry. So it's page 9 of the 59. So I think your pages might be a little bit different. Page 9 of 59 of the report. Yeah, risk management, the fourth paragraph from the bottom. So insurance companies require a certain standard for identifying all trees and the hazards, recording information and developing tree management strategy plans and maintenance programs. The costs to the council or not correcting managing their various assets can be significant. Insurance premiums and legal duty of care responsibilities have the potential to impact significant on the finances of council. Dead and hazardous trees, for example, this is on page 29 of 59. Dead and hazardous trees no longer viable is dead, little or no live foliage, little or no live tissue identified, under bark, tree is unstable in the ground. Unstable, dead and hazardous. We have many of those trees around the town at this moment that by this policy are deemed dangerous. We need to ensure that in this policy, people can identify to council, for example, Pets Tucker, who identified trees that were causing significant damage to the plumbing. And I do note that another additional email has been sent to council questioning where the Essential Energy plumber come from that they use, considering Essential Energy had never heard of the plumber from the email. These are the risks that council needs to mitigate to make sure we are covered by our insurances. The best way to do that is to put in the amendment that when a tree is identified as hazardous, either via the council or by reporting from a resident in the community, and then council investigates that and then takes it back to a report to council for us to have a look at as councillors to making decisions on how important that risk is. This amendment will allow us to do that. The report on its whole is quite good and identifies a lot of things, but what it does identify is the significant risks that dead trees and dangerous trees impact on council's potentials for being sued and insurance implications, but not only that, the potential harm to residents and their property. The report mentions it in many areas, and it is an opportunity to ensure that we do what's best for the community.
Thank you, councillor Kennedy. Speakers against, councillor Clark.
Just a query, Madam Mayor. Does the last paragraph on that page, which is page 9 of 59 or 761 in the main book, does that last paragraph cover what Councillor Kennedy is asking? Because it is talking about all trees reported as being unsafe or of concern by the public. So, obviously they have to be inspected by an appropriate staff member, or et cetera, have a report to the strategic asset manager. So it looks as if there are steps in this particular, particular tree management plan which would be taking care of that. Am I wrong, Councillor? Mr. General Manager.
Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Councillor Clark, no, I don't think you're incorrect in regards to that process. However, I think Councillor Kennedy was then saying he would like the report to come to the elected council for them to make the decision on what action is taken. If I'm
Thank you, Mr. General Manager.
Thank you.
No, that the hazardous tree be reported to the council by the staff with recommendations what to do. So we're kept well abreast of the actions under this policy.
Well, I know, it could be the next amendment. So if there's no debate, I'll put Councillor Kennedy's amendment. All those in favour, Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Gallagher and Councillor Clark. Against, Councillor Brown, Councillor Cool, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Page, Councillor Adams, Mayor Turley. The amendment's lost. We'll go back to the motion. If there's no further debate, Councillor Cool, tree management plan, right of reply. You're passing. I'll put the motion. All those in favour. Councillor Brown, Councillor Clark, Councillor Cool, Councillor Page, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Adams and Mayor Turley, Councillor Nolan, sorry, and against Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Allgate. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move to item 15, Broken Hill City Council report number 102/21, the investment report for May, page 857. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Adams. Seconder, Councillor Nolan. Councillor Adams, do you want to speak to the investment report?
No.
Thank you. Is there any debate? No debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's a unanimous vote. Thank you, councillors. Item 16, the Broken Hill City Council report dated 103/21, the Broken Hill led reference group minutes and reports for the 18th of March. Councillor Brown, are you moving that way? Seconder, Councillor Clark. Councillor Brown, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, Madam Mayor, I think the fairly comprehensive minutes.
Thank you. If there's any debate, no debate, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Nolan, you're voting. Thank you. Declared it carried unanimous. Thank you. Item 17, Broken Hill City Council report number 104/21, minutes of the local traffic committee, which is page 943. Moved by Councillor Brown, second by Councillor Adams. Before I put it, Councillor Adams, you had a question.
Yes, Madam Mayor, in reference to 414.8.3, page 948 of the hard copy, or page 4 of the 32 of the copy itself, in regard to the removal of the 40k signs around Picton, sorry, not Picton, what they are near Picton, but the Happy Day preschool. There's quite a lot of concern that the signs were removed last week. And we understand, I certainly was told many years ago, that the actual signs were illegal because the preschools are not schools. Now, that's all very well, that they've been there for a very long time. There are 72 children that attend that Happy Day. Morning and afternoon, they are usually, well, always accompanied by at least one adult and usually siblings. It's an extremely busy section. It's a dangerous section. I deliberately have never put in an official request to have it looked at because I live there, and as a councillor, I felt that people would have had a perception that if anything was done, it was done because of that reason. This has overridden all of that. This is an extremely dangerous situation, and I'm really, really disappointed that this action's been taken. I am preparing a report for the traffic committee, so I'd like my good colleague there to tell me if and when the next committee is, and even if it's permissible for someone to actually approach them, because we are really concerned that there will be a fatality. The rise of Kalon Street coming over into there is, you cannot see. The traffic coming around from Cummins Street into Kalon Street comes right into the refuge, which is really in a weird spot. It really is an extremely dangerous situation, and I think it needs to be looked at. And I would really appreciate any assistance from council as well on this one.
Councillor Brown.
Yes, Madam Mayor, this is a long-standing issue, and the reason it's finally come to a head is that the centre in Bagot Street, and I can't remember the name, the Happy Kids or whatever it is, they also requested a school sign, quoting the precedent of Happy Day. As Councillor Adams said, it's not the Transport for New South Wales. Essentially, this decision has been made by the Transport for New South Wales people and the senior people responsible for school signs. They do come here periodically, and that has meant that those signs have been taken away. I can't recall whether it's these minutes or the minutes of the last meeting. I think there is a detailed explanation of what's been done with the Happy Kids, and they're very happy with the solution there. There are those signs, the children signs, but it's not the school sign. I do understand the concern that the Happy Day, parents and the people such as Councillor Adams has. I'm not, sure what we can do. I would welcome a submission from Councillor Adams. The next meeting is this coming Tuesday. It's the first Tuesday of the month. So if you get that in quickly, it has to be approved. Do you understand the traffic committee is a kind of a group where council is one of the members, but and in cases like this, the application of the relevant state standards always is, we come up against those requirements. But certainly, I think something needs to be done to improve the safety there. But it can't be just what was there before, because it's just not, it's not permitted by the government.
It just seems a shame to me. It's almost like that children under 5 aren't as important, or their safety isn't as important as children over 5. And my biggest fear is, and people say it all the time, these sort of situations get sorted out after there has been a fatality. I don't want to be around if there is one.
It's the other thing is that that childcare centres can operate outside school hours. So those speed requirements with schools are strictly are defined by school operating times. I know there'll be sympathy for that, but it's something we've spent a long time over the years, because this comes up practically every year, with a letter from a member of the public or from the school. So it's one of those really tricky situations, but certainly another submission wouldn't hurt.
The other question I do have, and I'm not sure, but is this considered a change of traffic conditions when they remove those signs? And, should people in the area be notified of the change?
Councillor Brown.
I don't believe so. I don't think that's happened with other changes. I don't think there's general, I think if there's a media release from, from council, but I don't think it's one of those situations where you have to inform the public so that they can, make comment about that. I know that, this is something that does concern the school, and I'm sure that we'll hear some comments from them.
Can I suggest as a way forward, sorry, Councillor Clark, are you asking a question in relation to the traffic committee?
Yeah, are we able to make an amendment or something?
No, we can't make an amendment, no.
No.
So I suggest as a way forward, Councillor Adams is going to put a submission in. We'll put it as a question on notice as well. And that will ask the General Manager to address this as well.
I'll
So-
move an amendment, Madam Mayor.
No,
Don't know who said you can't move an amendment to a motion before the council meeting. I'll move an amendment, Madam Mayor.
What's your amendment, Councillor? Councillor, what's your
Yeah,
amendment?
I'm getting to the page, Madam Mayor. I'll move that the recommendations as written and that council move the following further recommendation that where is it? Blisters, I think they said transport right, use, install. That council write to Transport New South Wales, David Van, informing them that that council wishes to immediately install blisters in Kayline Street adjacent to the Happy Day preschool.
Councillor Adams, are you seconding that?
Second that.
Councillor Allgate.
Without trying to steal Councillor Adams' thunder, I think it's very important and it's an issue that Councillor Adams has brought up and it's an issue that needs to be addressed. Like Councillor Adams, I don't want to be waiting that signs get removed all of a sudden, a car speeds through there, kills a kid and we all say, oh, well, we didn't think it would happen that quickly. The reality is it has been there. They've been there for years. And Councillor Brown has just said it's brought up every year. All of a sudden, they're going to be removed and there isn't a plan B. There should be a plan B before those signs are removed. Council should not be removing those signs. I know they're saying to remove them immediately. Council should not be removing those signs until Plan B is ready to go ahead. And I'd hope Councillor Adams speaks strongly in favour of that because I'm stealing Councillor Adams's thunder, but the reality is what Councillor Adams has been brought up is so important it needs to be addressed here tonight, not down the track.
The reality is, Councillor Kennedy, they have already been removed.
That's the issue. Councillor Clark.
Yes, Madam Mayor, look, I think you told me I couldn't make an amendment, which is okay, but I would like Councillor Adams, if she's making this submission to the Traffic Committee, could she also include the concerns of this council that adequate safety measures need to be put in place around any establishment. Now, I don't care if it's a preschool or a childminding centre where there are small children.
Thank you, Councillor.
Can we just clarify this?
Sorry, I'll just speak first. So my apology, Councillor Clark. I thought you meant amending the minutes, so not the motion. Councillor Adams?
Yeah, at the moment, I'm actually making a submission and having a petition put out into Happy Day as a resident, not as Councillor Adams, as the resident of Kayline Street. Now, I'm quite happy to do it otherwise, if that's council's wish, that I refer myself as Councillor Adams, but I'm not sure about the legality of that.
I'm quite happy to add to the amendment that that when councillor Adams does speak on behalf as an individual, that councillor Adams be given the authority of what was being discussed here tonight to talk on behalf of council in relation to the fact that the signs have been removed. The signs will result in danger to the area and that the blisters need to be installed immediately.
Madam Mayor,
Councillor, yes, I'm a little
make a
bit,
point. I'm the council delegate. I'm
Yes.
quite prepared to speak on council's behalf.
yes, thank you, councillor
Represent
Brown.
council's view.
So I just want to go back to this because it's getting very messy. So we'll go through the chair.
I'd just like to apologise to councillor
Yeah,
Brown.
I think so. And I think councillor Adams did say at the beginning, this is because she lives there and she's speaking as a resident. So there's two parts to this. One is that councillor Adams said that she was going to put the submission in as a resident. Councillor Brown is our authorised delegate, and we will go back to that. And councillor Kennedy has included the amendment. So we're all very clear in process. So the councillor writes to Transport New South Wales. So I will put as there's no further debate, I will put the amendment by councillor Kennedy. And that would include the above motion as well, councillor Kennedy. All the recommendation plus that one. Okay, councillor Brown, are you happy with that? Yep. Okay, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Nolan, are you voting? Against, declared it carried unanimous. Thank you, councillors. That now becomes the motion. Councillor Brown was the original mover. Councillor Brown, do you want to write a reply?
No, I don't think so. I just wanted also to draw people's attention to the fact that the committee has proposed solutions for the problems we've had with loading zones. We had a very constructive walk around that whole area, and we've got the committee came up with a number of suggestions there with timed loading zones. We're still waiting for a submission from the Broken Hill pub to support their request for the loading zone in Argent Street. If that's a time zone, it appears that their deliveries are made early in the morning, a couple of times a week, sort of 7 o'clock in the morning. So I would anticipate that would be able to be done as well, added as well. I mean, there was a bit of a time, a bit of urgency, so it's a bit disappointing that hasn't come in, but that the councillors will recall that was one of the original complaints, that they didn't have that access in a convenient place or the only practical place for their deliveries.
Thank you, councillor Brown. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declared it carried unanimous. Thank you, councillor. Pardon? We did the amendment. This is the motion, and councillor Brown just did a reply. Item 18, Broken Hill City Council report number 105/21, the action list, page 97. Do I have a mover? Moved by councillor Gallagher. Seconder, councillor Page. Want to speak to the motion, councillor?
Yeah, it's all before us. It's looking pretty good, the action list.
Great, thank you. Any speakers against? No speakers against. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declared it carried unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Committee reports, item 1, the Broken Hill City Council.
Move 1 to 6, Madam Mayor.
We might have, oh, sorry, council endorses relating primary to the role of the objectors. Was there an amendment to that, the General Manager?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. If I just draw councillors' attention to the first committee report, Constitution of the Broken Hill Heritage Committee, we have made a typo in the structure of membership with the Broken Hill Heritage Advisor as the advisor is also a member of staff, there should be an ex officio non-voting member, just to clarify that, and we'll update the constitution.
Okay, including that, councillor Adams, you're moving 1 to 6. Is there a seconder? Councillor Clark? No debate. I'll put that, all those in favour, declared it carried. Sorry, councillors, I just got to get to the next. We'll move to item 13, questions taken on notice from the previous council meeting. Report number 5/21, page 1022, Mr. General Manager, that's a lot of pages. Do I have a mover? Moved by councillor Clark, seconder, councillor Adams. Is there any debate? No debate. I'll put, oh, sorry, councillor Brown.
Yes, Madam Mayor, not debate, but I just wanted to kind of finalise that issue from the previous meeting about the Councillor Kennedy, his question about the blood lead analysis and so on. Because there's a bit of restructuring happening with the EPA, I haven't heard back from Peter Olsen with approval from them to give us an answer to this, but the simple answer is that all the processes measure total lead. There is a difference between the way that the results are recorded for the Port Pirie a process that goes through an additional process, but it just gives a slightly more detailed result. But there's no difference in the way in the actual analysis of the lead samples, and it doesn't matter whether it's the XRF or the blood lead; it's still measuring total lead.
Thank you, councillor. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declared it carried unanimous. Questions for next meeting arising from items on this agenda.
I have a couple, Madam Mayor.
What are they, councillor? Just go slow so Lisa can capture them.
Yes. So the first one is Landcare was talking about in the tree planting, and I've had a member of the public talk about planting of trees in the region to make it like a wind barrier. And I know that Landcare is doing a lot of that anyway. Could we just have some sort of report back as what's happening, and could potentially, is there an opportunity to have all the different trees so that it can become a bit of a tourism attraction where you have different native trees, that so when people go into it, they can see what Broken Hill used to be like a long time ago. Plus we have different, so it almost become like a working botanic gardens, but with a use of reducing dust and wind. And I know that Landcare is already doing it, but it was a good idea. And if we could just get a bit of a answer to what they're doing and what potential other things we could do with that. And the second one is we talk about livable city, and I'm sure all the councillors know that we now have a couple of MRIs in town, but people are still having to leave town to get free MRIs because the current MRIs aren't covered to have Medicare and that. Can we look at going through the government to try and register those MRIs so that people can have those MRIs locally without having to pay the $260 or $70?
Thank you, councillor Clark.
Yeah, just to maybe add to Councillor Kennedy there, he may not know that this application went through to the government a long time ago. I think at the beginning of last year, there were applications made, and it's actually to get a licence. You have to get a licence from the government to be able to make to bulk bill. And that's basically what you absolutely need in a place like this, because people cannot afford an MRI. And so we've all been hanging on for a very long time, waiting for the government to come up with the goods.
So it's questions on notice for next meeting. Councillor Page.
Just to add to that, Mark Colton at the moment is pushing for that to happen, and it only is adopted so many times per year. So I think it will happen the next time they approve it.
Thank you. Questions for next meeting? Councillor Adams? Yeah, well, it's just questions for next meeting. So thank you, everyone. We'll now call for motions to go in closed session. Can I have a mover? Councillor Clark, seconder, Councillor Brown. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declared it, Councillor Page, you voting? Sorry, declared it carried unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Can we ask Jay, I'll tell you that. Thank you, everyone. I'll ask the General Manager to read the motions that were considered during the confidential session. Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Item 1, Broken Hill City Council Report number 112/21, establishment of a regional code of conduct review panel. Recommendation, Council resolves 01, that Broken Hill City Council Report number 112/21 dated June 2016, 2021 be received. 2, that Council resolves to establish a regional panel of conduct reviewers and appoint reviewers as selected by the Far West Joint Organisation through an expression of interest process. Item 2, Broken Hill City Council Report number 113/21, lease of the Priscilla Queen of the Desert Bus theatrical prop and associated props. Recommendation 1, that Broken Hill City Council Report number 113/21 dated June 18, 2021 be received. And 2, that Council notes the terms of the lease agreement of the Priscilla Queen of the Desert Bus theatrical prop and associated props to the Palace Hotel Broken Hill. Just excuse me for a moment, councillors. And 3, that council contacts the owners of the Palace Hotel to investigate pulling it on permanent display as per their correspondence. The council advising that they were thinking of doing that. Item 3, Broken Hill City Council Report number 114/21, subject T tender 21/8, request for tender for supply of water truck with firefighting capabilities. Motion was lost. Item 4, Broken Hill City Council Report number 115/21, subject tender 21/11, request for tender for supply of 1 loader for waste management facility. Recommendation and resolved 1, the Broken Hill City Council Report number 115/21 dated June 2, 2021 be received. And 2, the council award tender T21/11 for the supply of 1 loader for the waste management facility to Cav Power Broken Hill for the tendered CAT 950M model for the amount of $415,650.03, excluding GST. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Before I close the meeting, Councillor Adams wanted to say a word to the councillors and staff.
Just that, as most of you know, I did have breast cancer surgery a couple of weeks ago. I'd just like to thank you all for your well wishes and the flowers. And I must say that the Breast Screen Broken Hill and the Royal Flying Doctor service were absolutely brilliant. I think we're very lucky to have them. Thank you.
Thank you. As I close this, yes, thank you, everyone. As I close this meeting, can I thank all the councillors for their patience and the staff wearing, and all those that attended the meeting, wearing masks for such a long time is a really difficult thing. Let's hope that we can progress very quickly and that that for the rest of the state, their COVID cases start to decrease. As such, I'll close the meeting and thank you all.